Y'all ready down there? Good deal. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the Carver Heights, Montclair Area CRA. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 at 5 p.m. If you'd please rise for the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this group tonight and that you help us make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We do this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. We'll begin tonight by welcoming our new members. Always a pleasure. If we could have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, if everybody's had a chance to review them.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Here. Chairperson Berry?
Yes. We also have the minutes from the CRA workshop. Could we get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to the resolutions. If someone would please introduce item 3A.
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
A resolution of the Carver Heights, Montclair Area Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the chairperson and secretary to execute special warranty deeds to convey surplus vacant lots to nonprofit organizations as established by the surplus lot donation policy and procedure and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second on?
Second.
All right, discussion. Al, could you just run us
Give
through?
you a debrief. Okay,
Yes.
so once upon a time, the city received a list of lots that were being requested by various not-for-profit organizations for us to donate to them based on our inventory list. At that time, the Commission, CRA board, I'm going to use synonymously, did not want to continue a pattern of disseminating lots without a formal policy. So we had the quasi, if you will, lot moratorium in place while we put together a policy. So after some time, we put together a policy, which I sent out to the Commission earlier today, which is Resolution 11372, which effectively was the lot donation policy that we put in place. Essentially, it says that the Commission may donate lots. You don't have to donate lots, but you may donate lots. And if you do, the criteria would be set forth that you have to be a not-for-profit recognized by the city. It didn't specify what type of not-for-profit, but just a not-for-profit. And that there would be time parameters on the agency who adopted the lot, whereby they would have to start construction for a single-family unit within 24 months. It'd have to be complete within 36 months. If that hadn't taken place, the lot can be called back by the city, or an extension can be provided to whatever. Some of the other parameters were that the donation of the house or the purchase of the house in the future would be reviewed by the city, and there were certain criteria put in place for the applicant to be within a certain amount of the low to moderate income levels, and we would review and approve who the ultimate owner of the house would be. As long as the petitioner followed those rules, then the city would set out and potentially donate these lots. The other item of significance in the policy is that once the house is then goes from the organization into ownership of a person, that person can't sell the property within 5 years of owning it. If they do, then the city can retake some of the value of the lot back on a pro rata share. So, so say the lot's worth $100, it dinks down that 20% every pro rata share. So those are then all memorialized in the special warranty deed. So that when the property donation is recorded, the city still has some right of claim to make sure that all those requirements of the policy are in place. After we got the policy in place, we found out that a number of the lots requested, the city did not have clear title to. Just an abbreviated version of that is just some procedural things from code enforcement and claims that we had on properties and advertisement things, a little bit of different process from City Attorney Morrison to City Attorney Watson. Now that we got all those things squared away, the lots that are being considered to be given with your action this evening are all squared away, and it goes back to the initial request. These are not new requests. These are previous requests. Commissioner Berry has talked to me, and she'd like the city to consider, once I'll let her speak for herself, but once these lots are done, she would like the city to kind of consider a potential sale of the remaining inventory. Pending your action tonight, I will update the inventory list and get that out to you, but that would be a matter, I think, that the entire commission would need to talk about in moving forward. So essentially tonight, these are old requests now being worked through the new policy and on consideration for tonight, because the CRA owns these lots, is 706 Beecher Street being donated to the CDC of Leesburg, 701 McCormick Street being donated to the Christian Worship Center, 1003 Georgia being donated to the CDC of Leesburg, 801 Beecher Street being donated to Homes in Partnership, and Alabama Avenue being donated to the West Leesburg CDC. So these are all a sweeping action, and all the special warranty deeds have the reference to the policy for the city's claims.
Do we have questions from any of the commissioners?
Yes, I have questions, please. In reference to the process, after the moratorium, can you hear me? After the moratorium was placed, we put in a criteria. I understand that these lots were already put in prior to. However, we have criteria stating 3 years, 3 lots within a 3-year period. And how did these lots get selected for the dissemination tonight for these locations?
So 2 parts to that question. A, moving forward, I would assume that any lots moving forward since the moratorium, the count is on. So for example, in this action, the CDC is receiving 2 lots, so they're only eligible for 1 more lot donation in the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. And B,
the location, how it's determined.
Requests from the groups. They petitioned the city. We're just processing the request.
Okay, so the agreement or the understanding, I thought, when we put in that we would create some form of board as far as doing the disbursement, thank you, giving out to where the lots would go as far as the location. The concern I have is we don't want to create, how many have actually put in for a request for the lots? How many nonprofit organizations?
Commissioner, I don't know the answer to that. My assumption is that what the receipt, is Sandra in here? The receipts, I'll answer this, and if it's wrong, Sandra, jump in. But we have, with this petition request, we now have fulfilled all the requests that are on us. So we don't have any beyond this request.
So is that you're saying that all of the
Yeah, once you approve and give away these lots pursuant to the new policy, we no longer have any requests in process.
But still have lots.
We still have lots,
right,
but no requests for lots.
Okay, that's my concern, because I was under the impression that we would come up with a process of how we would distribute the lots with the housing department.
My understanding is that you've done that with the policy. We didn't, the policy doesn't address how the city will issue the lots. It's done on a request basis.
Yeah, the criteria was set to determine who gets the lot, but then, who can apply for the lot of requested, but all the lots that have been listed here, how is that determined that West Leesburg versus, Carver Heights, Montclair versus Leesburg City versus the home partnership? How does that determine of how the request was?
I hear two different questions in there.
It is too.
The ownership of the lot is the city, and the city could be in different ways. It could be through the Carver Heights CRA, which is this. It could be the downtown CRA. It could be not in a CRA district, which then would be just the city commission. So depending on the title of the lot will dictate how the lot is given away. So these lots are specifically owned by the Carver Heights CRA, so this body needs to give away the lot.
Okay, so when we did, go ahead.
The second part of your question was, again, how do we determine who gives it away? These were lots that were owned by the Carver Heights CRA, and we're requesting, and we are responding to requests from the organizations, in this case, Leesburg CDC, Christian Worship Center, and West Leesburg CDC petitioned the Carver Heights CRA to ask for this body to donate that inventory to them.
Okay, maybe I understand that. So now my concern is if you have two nonprofits asking for the same property, how is determined who gets what?
We didn't have that
No,
situation.
I'm saying if.
Well, then we would have to figure out, flip a coin or whatever, but we didn't run into that situation.
Well, that was the part of the concerns that constituents calling interested in the lots and told that the lots were already donated. So my concern is there are several lots available. We created a criteria and establishment for nonprofits to how we should go about it. That's established. That next step, as far as moving forward, as in handing them out, is where I am and was not aware of when it was to be done. So when the marketing piece, when it was advertised in the paper, the classified piece, how did we do the advertisement for that to let people know that lots are available? I just don't want to continue to see like we're causing some form of a monopoly that only certain nonprofits receive it if there's others that are interested. That's what
I understand your concern, and my only response back to you is it's really your prerogative on how you'd like to vote on this matter. I think we followed the policy, the new policy that was adopted to the T. I've heard your request that on the remaining inventory, and I think that's something the body needs to deliberate on, is how you want to move forward. I will get you the updated list. There's still several lots on there that are not earmarked or not spoken for, so the city can do an advertisement to seek interest to try to sell the lots, or however you may want to move forward.
So the advertisement, though, is what I'm showing here, is listed, so that's not all the lots?
The advertisement, no, that's not all the lots. That's the lots that are being considered for dissemination this evening.
Okay. I'm not in favor of it, and I just wanted to make sure I understood the process of how it was going after we had actually made our criteria of how to determine and then the distribution of the lots. And that's where I am with this.
Well, I'm going to try to help a little bit, maybe if I understand it correctly, but we have a group of lots here right now. There's only been one party interested per lot, so this one's an easy one to me. We have other lots. I guess my other comment would be we slowed the process down, and we're sitting on lots that need to be moved. So I guess let's move on, I guess is my point. Let's approve these and let's get the next one in the bucket. Yes. And I don't think there's been a big demand for them.
That's not true.
Well, they said one person applied per.
I don't know. I'm based on the calls that I've received and people, constituents.
Non-for-profits.
Some were for nonprofits, but they were told that the lots were already distributed, and that's where I'm concerned at and trying to understand.
We have other lots. We have plenty of lots. If they want a lot, we have lots.
Yeah, but it's not just that easy that you just give land, give land. The goal is to build the CRA. That is my goal as a commissioner, to build the CRA and bring in as much tax dollars as well as affordable homes for the community and for people that are in need. So when I just want to make sure that I understand, when we decided in our June meeting an advisory committee was suggested to oversee this process. I don't know if that has ever taken place, and I'm not aware, so this is my time I can ask. So I'm just wanting to be clear that are we really being fair with the distribution of the lot process? Because I don't think so.
Well,
Other comment?
Yes.
no, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If you guys say that the Carver Heights CRA have ownership of these, correct?
These lots are within that.
Within
block.
my neighborhood.
Correct.
Down the street from me.
Correct.
And I've investigated all of them. Every last one of these lots are kind of like prime lots. When I've investigated, which I have not met with Ms. Wilson in housing, which I need to as a new member of CRA, I don't want to move on anything that I don't really know. I want to sit down with her and see where this goes. I'm not against new homes being built in my neighborhood, but we got 3 nonprofits with the same people on the board, same thing going to the same people, and that is my concern. If there are other nonprofits that want to, or if we can sell it as a CRA and make a financial contribution to that area so that we can get other things done in my area, that's what I want to see. Now, I can give them 3 lots, hold on 3, till I get I want 90 days with Ms. Wilson so that I can understand how this housing situation and things are moving, these pieces move. I was installed in January, and I need to meet with her. So I will email her. She give me a date. I will spend a day with her. I know you guys want to move it out the way. That's all well, fine, and good. I don't have an issue with that. But I need to understand what's going on in my neighborhood.
I can appreciate that, and I understand that. I think my position is I want the houses built. I want the neighborhood to get better. And we are trying our best to limit who can do that. We're putting a maximum of 3 in 3 years. Is that
3 in 3 years to whatever organization.
So that the organization can do 3. You're concerned that only one organization
is sucking them all up.
I'm aware of that. But that organization is going to build 3 houses, and there are going to be 3 homeowners in a new neighborhood. And right now, everybody in Leesburg's paying to mow the grass. You know, the tax, it's just sitting on the tax rolls. So, you know, this is an opportunity.
Well, like I say, give me some time to speak with Ms. Wilson. I have no issue with this. But my issue is, because when you look at paper, and I'm looking at who's all on the boards of these things, it's the same people. And if there's anyone else that can be, you know, come in, nonprofit, or I can sell that property to them and they put a house there, I mean, it's a plus for that community as well. One prime company, we need a senior citizen building out there. We don't just need houses. We need other things in that community so that we can push the bad out, bring in the new. That is my goal. So.
Any other comments?
Yes, sir. If I may chime in. I'm new to the process as well. So forgive me if I didn't catch all the details with the process. But what I observed through the paperwork was, it seemed like what I'm hearing is a monopoly. You know, I'm seeing the same people. So one of my questions was, what is the process for getting other nonprofits qualified? to be available to be in on this process, have access to these properties.
I don't have an answer to that. I mean, it's an application process for the non-for-profit.
There's not an answer to that question. I think 3 members of the board have expressed that the city needs to do more to disseminate information about available lots. The city has not done that. The city, however, has received requests. We've tabled requests. We've put together a policy. We followed that policy, and now we're revisiting existing requests. There are no more pending after this. But if it's this body's choice, so I think the city is, we're responsible for seeing the completion of that request. And if there's a no vote on that request from this body, then that request has been processed and will function differently in the future. It probably deserves a discussion of the body, how you would like to disseminate the inventory. So you had a pending list, you had a moratorium. I'm repeating myself now, but you had a pending list, you had a moratorium. We addressed a moratorium with a donation policy. We have followed the donation policy. Now there's at least 3 commissioners on the CRA board who question that maybe we should disseminate to other organizations. I understand that. That is not a staff determination. That's a legislative prerogative on how this body wants to donate the lots.
Right.
So if you vote yes, then these lots will be donated pursuant to the new policy. If you vote no, then I would say that request has been answered with a no vote, and it will be incumbent upon this body or the city commission on how do we want to proceed, if we even want to disseminate the lots in our inventory. So the question on hand is a legislative one. I think the staff functioned properly, and it's now your turn to vote on how you want to move forward.
Does the CRA have other lots in the pipeline?
What's the inventory on how many lots are?
I think it's a total of.
Was it 18?
18, maybe 20.
In the CRA, I thought it was,
Is Sandra not available?
I thought that was citywide. That's in the CRA, you think?
There's a handful of inventory that still exists.
I don't need an exact number, Al. I guess I'm just.
You may not want to
There's
give out.
additional inventory is my question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I feel strongly we need to approve this. We've been sitting on these way too long. Move these out, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 lots, and address the other commissioners' concerns with these future. We got plenty of lots to work on. We can tweak the program if they want to tweak it. We're spending way too much time and overly complicating processes. Work pretty good for the city. And I don't think people are knocking down the doors to buy these lots. I'm not against trying to sell them, but maybe that's the solution.
I think so.
Put it out there and let people bid on them. Maybe that's the solution.
I respect your comment, Mr. Peterson, but I still want to meet with the housing before I make a move on this. It can be 10 days, 15 days, or whatever. Just let me meet and get an understanding of how things are shifting and moving. Okay? I think I deserve that. I'm new here. I deserve it.
One more note.
Comments from the commission?
Yes, one more note. As she mentioned earlier, I kind of took a look at some of these properties myself as well, and they're prime properties. And for instance, there's one right there where the pool that was, I think they started demolishing the pool on July 29th of 2022. And I'm sure there were other properties there before that one, but that one's, I guess that address that I see, 1111, that's the former H.O. Dabney swimming complex. And
The old one, yeah.
And that's a pretty good sized property. So I can't see, that looks like you can put several houses on that. So
I don't know. That would have to be.
but I'm saying I guess you haven't driven in that area.
No, I have, but Dan would have to answer.
Okay.
Whether we can have several houses on one of the areas.
Well,
or not.
okay. If that's considered one lot, that's a pretty good sized lot. So
Where the old swimming pool was, Dabney?
Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. On the old Dabney swimming pool, I would need to get a picture of the size of the lot. I'm familiar with where it is, and the possibilities there could be more than one house there, but I do need a square footage and see what the surrounding zoning is and what that may be zoned public at this time. So, but I'd be happy to look at something if you need me to. and make that determination.
All right, so another note on that is, like she mentioned, that I think we need a senior complex somewhere in our area. I mean, I thought that
Well,
could
we
be
have a
prime.
PUD for a senior complex in Montclair.
Okay.
That's on the books.
Well,
That's a
Montclair
fact.
and Carver Heights is still a little bit of a distance. So for the elderly,
Well-
that would be a little bit of a
Well, I get you.
Challenge.
You know, but when we talk about senior housing, it is, I mean, we,
well, not even senior housing. It could be like a mini complex like you have over at Venetian Center, right there. I mean, that was a public place. So why couldn't you put another public facility there to maybe give people in that neighborhood access to other things other than just, you know.
I think we're losing sight of the whole theory of a CRA. You know, we're trying to take vacant lots that are not generating any tax revenue, have somebody put a home on them, create a taxable value. We build a number of these, create more tax revenues to the CRA, and then start doing projects like you're talking about. I mean, how we prioritize them doesn't matter. I guess what I'm saying, we can talk about the other ideas the CRA has, but I think we're missing the boat here. We're losing the opportunity to create more revenue for the CRA here, and we're just sitting on lots that are costing us money to clear versus, you know, but I mean, that's my point.
May I add one more thing? As my major concern as the commissioner for the district is that we provide a opportunity for various organizations to come in and even some small investors to do something to build a CRA. But right now, my concern is that I know that we're regurgitating and we're using the same process that we put in place, but with the same players. And no offense to any organization trying to move forward, but give others a chance. So I would like to listen to the public. I see two standing, and then I would make my recommendation.
My last comment is we need to move these lots out and apply their thoughts, their ideas to the remaining 15, 18 lots. We've got plenty of lots to work with. We can tweak the program, but we're just, this is ridiculous sitting on these lots. I think we've been talking about this for over a year.
Since I've been here.
And how many is this, 4?
Right.
We got 14 more.
yeah, and an important thing to remember is, what does the CRA make right now? When you're talking about building a community center there, the CRA, I asked Al, maybe
That was actually the next item on the
it was about $800,000 a year to build something like the community center, something of that nature. You're talking about doing nothing for 5 years and then just doing that. So, I mean, what's more important, getting some houses built for people or having a community center that you can't use it, for 5 years or more, depending, you know.
I think they're both important.
Well,
Don't
I
get
know
me
they're
wrong.
important.
So, but my goal is, I mean, I don't want to keep going over this, but I mean, I don't mind going over it until I make my point, or if you understand where I'm coming from. My thing is that the main goal is to put some form of organization and process in place. We did that. Now we're needing another process to put in place to distribute it, because no one can answer when the marketing should be done. And if 30 days was noted here, is 30 days really long enough? And then if not, that should be revisited. And then also we need to consider, if we do sell some of the land, consider the CDC for the Carver Heights and Montclair area. I don't know how many times or what was offered to them as a CDC group that could build and grant true affordable homes, as well as just projects for the CRA. All it's to build the CRA. That's all I'm looking for, to build the CRA so that we don't have to rely on grants. We can build our own coffer, get this money steady there, and then use grants for like extra. But if we build our CRA by doing, and I'm not against building of homes, please understand, but it's how, I guess it's how it's being selected for these to be chosen, and then these are remaining. And that's what I have a problem with, because I know the area. And if it was distributed and stated prior to the moratorium, is it fair that we pick up and go back there, or do we start new? I mean, this is all discussions that I have questions on. So.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution. Before we vote on that, we're going to allow public comment.
Good evening, Dr. Erica Jasper. I'm just here to get clarity to understand. I think Al kind of conveyed the point. Commissioner Berry, you were instrumental in making up this policy, and now you're questioning the policy that you implemented. When it came, our goal is here to serve the community. You put the moratorium in, it was lifted, and now you made up this policy. It was first come, first serve, from what I understand, and it's those organizations' problem or issue that they're not involved or connected to know what's going on in the city council meetings, that they miss the announcements. That's not the issue of the CRA. And I think we have to understand the purpose of the CRA and the purpose of building to provide economic development. And also, too, a comment was made about a monopoly. The question or the problem is you have developers that have experience in building. You just don't want to get anybody who don't have the funds or the resources to build or to get these lots and don't have the funds to move forward, move our community forward. The CDC, West Leesburg CDC, HIP, and also CWC, they have the track record of building sustainable housing. You want to provide economic development, economic growth in these communities. So I'm just curious, and also Commissioner Connor, you mentioned that you need 90 days. Well, that's your issue that you didn't do your research before coming to the board to know what was going on. Yeah, you're new to the board, but you have a responsibility to do your research before you have these meetings. And if you live in the city of Leesburg, you would know that versus being in Tampa. So that is my question. How is this a monopoly? How is this monopoly when these organizations have shown proof that they have the sustainability to move our community forward? Thank you.
Let me address, I'm not going to get personal with Ms. Jasper. I work in Tampa. I live in Leesburg. Let's get that corrected. Number one, I did do my research. Number two, we're not going to get personal here, and I'll deal with you later.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Pastor John Christian, pastor of the Christian Worship Center, chairman of the Leesburg CDC, vice chairman of Homes in Partnership. And I say all that because I think reference was made about some people on multiple organizations. Let me go back into the history why the CRA have these lots. When the CRA did the Carver Heights plan, we had Greg Belleville Group come in and did the CRA plan. We found out that we had too many renters in Carver Heights. The issue then, we needed home ownership. So Ken Thomas, then being the Housing Economic Development Director, went out and sought, with code enforcement help, to acquire lots for the CRA in Carver Heights for single-family home ownership. That's how you have as many lots as you have in Carver Heights CRA, will provide single-family opportunities because there was too many renters in Carver Heights. If you can remember, I was the initial person before any other organization came, asked this organization for 3 lots for my church, because if you go through Carver Heights, there's 3 organizations who are building brand new housing in Carver Heights: the Christian Worship Center, the Community Development Corporation, and Homes in Partnership are the only 3 nonprofits that are building new homes in Carver Heights. Go back 3 years ago, you'll find Homes in Partnership, the only nonprofit that's building in Carver Heights. So we got this illusion that people are knocking down the doors to build affordable housing in Carver Heights. That's just not the case. There's a huge risk. You give a lot away, someone says it's valuable, so say $15,000. When my church builds a house, we got $200,000+ of cash on the ground with a $10,000 lot. So we're taking all the risk. So I just encourage you, look at your other cities surrounding, ask them how many nonprofits are building in the blighted communities that they serve. Go to Eustis, Habitat's doing a wonderful job. Go to Mount Dora, go to Claremont. Just ask them how many nonprofits are building affordable homes in their community. And let's go homegrown nonprofits. Remember, the CDC has an agreement with the city, which calls the Federal Consent Decree, that says the city has to work with the CDC doing their development projects. So the CDC is asking, if nobody else gets approved, that you approve the CDC lots, because you have a federal consent decree that mandates that you work with the CDC on their development plan. This is our development plan. This is West Leesburg Community Development Plan. And our CDC has met with West Leesburg CDC in a joint meeting. And this was our proposal to them, was to do exactly what we're here doing tonight. So I'm not here to, and I understand everybody's position, but I just encourage you. I've written 3 letters of requests 3 different times. So this will be a 4th time of asking. Now, I've done my homework because I was sitting there and probably one of the ones who encouraged the city to purchase these lands, to be aggressive in acquiring these lots. So if it's a wait, Ms. Conner, that's fine. Building a community center. We have a community center right there, right above, I think on Pamela Street. So, and I don't disagree. The senior living, senior activities are probably, the CDC has a monthly brunch where we provide our generational talents in Leesburg to have those type of activities. So we think as a CDC, we are meeting that need. And yet it may be a need for a center. But that takes planning, that takes a loan, because you have to borrow money to do that. And if this is that body's request, I think you have a workshop and you declare that's what you want to do, but not do it on the back of, because that lot won't be big enough to build a senior complex. You're going to need more land for retention, parking, etc. And a home probably brings, and Al can probably help us. The CRA probably gets maybe $100, $200 from a house. So your commercial, this CRA is growing because of what's happening on Tally Box Road with your commercial development. That's where the growth, that's where the money comes in. What the homes does, it helps our law enforcement, helps our community get rid of crime, it builds sustainability in our neighborhoods. So I just encourage you to go forward with this proposal from these nonprofits. Homes in Partnership is here, and that's on that board, and we actually encourage them because the lot that's on Beecher and Johns across from the Elks, that's a very tricky lot. To put a house there across from the Elks Club is a tricky, somebody's got to pay the money and cross their fingers, hope that someone can buy that. Homes in Partnership has the financial capacity to make that happen. So I just encourage you, if you really want to see real change, allow these nonprofits to work. And then we heard the 24 months. Dan is great, he's fast, but if you give a lot, say the pool lot, it's going to take us 6 or 7 months to get it rezoned and properly ready to be built on. So even that 24 months, you're going to need an organization that's ready to go, not that's going to try to hope to get money, because it's going to take you 6, 7 months just to get those lots zoned properly and ready to build. So I just encourage you, allow these nonprofits to go to work. And I'm a nonprofit, so I'm not a monopoly. I just work real hard, and I think I'm good at what I do, and I believe in affordable housing. That's why I serve on Homes in Partnership. That's why I serve on the CDC, and that's why my church started building homes, because we knew the need. So thank you for listening to me. I went over my time. I apologize, but thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Cassandra Cunningham with the West Leesburg CDC. I'm the face of the West Leesburg CDC, so I get a lot of questions. The questions that I had for you all tonight have already been asked and answered, so I won't delay your time. However, I think the biggest problem we have right now is the process, understanding the process. All we're asking is show us how it works. Don't bring us in on the tail end and tell us, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do your homework and you didn't do that. We're new to this. We have not done a lot before, our organization, to build one, to build a house. And we want to get involved in it, but we need to understand the process. I know for a fact, and Fred Griffin is our president, he's on vacation, but I know for a fact, I have copies of them. He has sent 6 to 10 requests. I mean, we got one. We got one of those requests. Not that we want 10, but we had to keep resubmitting. And I'm sure there's a reason. Sandra probably will sit me down and tell me why each one of them was rejected or denied. But I'm just saying, if we understand the process, we wouldn't have to go through that. We're just asking. I understand what Ms. Conner is saying. We're just asking to understand the process. Only a handful of people really understand the process, so that we won't waste this time anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other comments from the commission?
All right, go ahead.
I would like to chime in on one thing I heard said, was that I'm going to go back to the location where the swimming complex was. I mean, I'm certain you guys knew that you were going to demolish that complex in advance. So I'm wondering, now that it's been granted as to be used for a home, that, I mean, some planning could have been put in place before then, what you could do with that property prior to just putting a home there. I understand. There's a complex over on Pamela Street, but, you know, that's kind of removed from the area in where I'm at, in Carver Heights. So, I mean, I think, and it doesn't have to be a huge complex like what's over at the Venetian Center. Something that's modest can go right there. I mean, the pool was there, and that was a good-sized place for the pool. So I'm just saying some thought could have been put in place as to what other things could be that property right there could be used for. Maybe some, I mean, and I understand, maybe, you know, community may not have been involved, but, you know, here I am now. So, like she said, we got installed in January. So I'm not going to know everything right at the jump. But I think some thought could have been put in place as to what could we put here. I understand there's other lots there for homes, but what could we put here to maybe serve the community, you know, a public facility, since you already owned it. Thank you.
We have
Any other comments?
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So,
Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Alderman?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
no.
Commissioner Connor?
No.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Okay, so that failed. Let's move on to, would somebody please introduce Resolution 3B?
Can I make a comment on my item? We've been bickering about this for 18 months. We need to just put these damn things up for sale. Or auction them off or something. I won't spend another 18 months bickering over how to get rid of lots. You know, let's just get them marketed, almost like a silent type bid. You know, let people submit bids on them and let's move them out. Just an idea. I don't want to do it right now. I'm just throwing out an idea. We got to get these things moving, and that'll make the process a little more fair. You know, if we put them out for a price. I don't think they're going to bring big numbers, but I hope they do.
That's what was suggested some time back. So,
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
I will make that a motion. You want to help me summarize it there?
Commissioner Peterson is requesting that we do an advertisement for selling inventory. So this body, that motion would be for the properties that are owned by the Carver Heights
Yes.
CRA.
Yeah.
You will need to do a separate motion for the downtown and
next
the
meeting.
general ones
Okay.
under the commission. Then all the lots.
So we need to mirror that. You're saying tonight we can mirror tonight all three.
You
Okay.
need to mirror tonight all three.
Okay. Help me remember that.
May-
Okay.
may I make a suggestion before we go? Is it possible that we could table this until further discussion with the criteria that was established that I did work on and put in place, as well as creating an advisory committee to help disseminate and further discussion far as to sell, to have that our option as well, as some donations and some to sell. So can we have that as open?
Okay, so right now we have a motion.
we
There's a
didn't-
motion
you didn't
with
make
no
a
second.
motion.
Hold on.
I did.
You didn't
Hold
make a
on.
motion.
Yes, I did.
There's a motion on the floor, and we're talking about it
Yes.
when we haven't even got a second. So come on.
That's
I mean,
what I'm
is
saying.
anybody going to second the motion? So you will second the motion. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to put all lots in the Carver Heights CRA out for
Best
public
best offer.
Best offer. So we've got a second on that motion. Is there any discussion on that now?
That's not the goal for what I was looking for the district and selling all property.
Okay.
So, no.
So you would be opposed?
Yes, I
get it.
oppose it.
Do you have any comments? Anybody? Okay, so we have,
I was just going to say cut it in half, but yeah.
but then which ones?
I was gonna say,
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
determine what happens.
Yeah, I'm fine. If it doesn't pass, doesn't
that's
pass.
fine. So we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. No more discussion. Let's have a roll call on that motion.
Commissioner Alderman? Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
No.
Commissioner Connor? Commissioner Connell?
No.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. We'll just sell them. It's 42.
Yes, sir.
For
43.
selling them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now let's move on to Resolution 3B. Did we get that introduced?
No, sir.
Okay, would someone please introduce Resolution 3B?
Yeah, I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the Carver Heights, Montclair Area Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving home improvement grant award agreements for 12 recipients in the Carver Heights, Montclair Community Redevelopment Area and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Is there any discussion on this item?
This is
This is the new home grant program that disseminates the about $300,000 that we had budgeted for the home grant program. I think the staff report speaks for itself.
Are there any stipulations on this one? If money's given to rehab a house?
Yes, and so there was a stipulation in the program that if monies are given, that the applicant has to bring, I think it was 10% to the table. The grant application the grant applicants also have partnered with Lake County Community Action Agency, and they're doing various levels of other grant improvements to the homes, including our $25,000. Those grants range anywhere from, I think it was about $3,500 to $6,500. In all cases, the secondary grant is being seen as their 10% match, which then gets them out of the requirements of putting a lien on the home.
So if they match 10% of the overall renovations, is what you're saying?
Correct. They're matching 10% of the overall city renovation project by bringing another grant to the table. So in essence, the other grant money is seen as the 10% match, which excludes them from the lien requirement.
Okay, so there's no stipulation they have to keep the property for any certain time, amount of time after the.
I thought it was an either. I thought it was an either or. I thought it was an either or, like 10% or a 5-year
Or 5
phase out.
years. 10% of 5 years.
I could be getting mixed up with another.
I think if they bring the 10%, it excludes them from any restrictions.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they're subject to the 5-year
Correct.
sliding. Okay.
It's a sliding
That's
scale.
correct.
I was just trying to help
Does
Commissioner
it
Canal.
have to be their homestead?
Yes.
So it has to be their homestead when they get the grant, but they don't, as soon as the work's done, they could get $100,000 or whatever the grant is with only a 10%.
No, it has to remain their homestead. They can't rent. Is that where you were headed?
Like rent or sell.
Right. They can sell, but they can't rent. It has to be homesteaded.
Okay, so they can get their house renovated for only 10% of the improvements and then turn around and sell it?
Yes.
I would have some concerns with that.
Any other comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. So the budget, do we need to?
Super quick, if the committee wants to come back and have a discussion prior to the fiscal year 25 workshops, we can do that. We can do that next month. It is difficult to have the detailed conversation, but essentially, Anna, if you would put up the slide I have prepared. This is the Carver Heights CRA, so it would be the column on the right. So essentially, the CRA brings in $117,000. We have some existing obligations that we have to do. The housing redevelopment and manager position, so that's personnel costs, some operating expenses, the debt service on the resource center, and then operations of the resource center. So that leaves total expenditures of about $306,000. So you have about $511,000 available. So that's kind of the number that you're dealing with on what projects you want to do moving forward. My recommendation to this body is going to be to continue doing the home grant program. You could probably increase that to $500,000. We had a number of applicants that came in. I don't remember don't hold me to this number, please, but they're probably upwards of around 25 I'm looking at Sandra. She might remember that number. Probably 25-ish that we received. This year, we were only able to fund the 12. So there's, another 12 houses that are sitting there that are really ready to go into the next cycle. So you could probably take that entire expenditure and allocate it towards the home program next year. I don't know an easy way to say this, but it really makes it easy. You've got that money sitting there. I know it's kind of a myopic project to only put it into that one item, but that one item is a significant one to rehabilitate housing in Carver Heights, which increases property values and that type of thing. So if it's up to you all, we'll just reschedule and have it more detailed if you want to have that meeting before July in the workshop, so we get it scheduled sometime in June.
I don't need another meeting, but can I ask a simple question? Is this? I assume this is more than last year. I'm looking at the funds available. Do you roughly what we generated last year?
That's a 6%. That's a 6% growth.
Okay.
In revenue.
You know where I'm going with
I think
that.
last year we got 13%, so that number's in the air. I think the 6% is probably a really good estimate for now.
Okay, you answered my
We'll know
question.
by the end of the week where that number's going once
Okay,
we get
thank
the
you.
numbers from the appraiser's office.
Do I need to make a motion then? Is a motion needed? I will.
For a meeting, yes.
Yeah, if you
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this discussion later for the fiscal year for 2024,
say in June,
2025.
just so you have
Yes.
that meeting before the
Before the
workshop.
budget time, yes. June, the second week of June, second meeting. That's
Is
fine.
that just a meeting like this?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a similar motion for the next one too. So we probably should schedule 30
more
minutes
time.
before the regular meeting and have it budget centric only.
The CRA will be invited to that June meeting?
It will be a CRA meeting.
Okay.
All right,
there's
so
a
we have a
motion. I move the
motion. Do we have a
motion and a
second on the motion?
Did you make a motion?
Commissioner Berry made a motion.
I made a motion.
Did,
I second it.
Okay, so we have a second on that motion. Any more discussion? This is on having a meeting on June, the second meeting in June, the 24th. It'll be a 30-minute meeting prior to the city commission meeting. So it'll be at 5 o'clock.
June 10. Why don't we just set it for June 10?
Oh, you want the first
Oh,
meeting?
you're not going to be here?
I'm not sure.
It's going to be a long commission meeting.
I'd vote for June 10.
I'm open.
When are you good for?
I'm open.
For June 10th?
If that would
June 10th.
work better.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so for June 10th. All right, roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes?
Oops. Commissioner Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Alderman?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Okay, we'll have roll call now. For our new members, that's an opportunity just to speak for each of the commissioners.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Connor?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Alderman?
Right now, thank you.
Commissioner Connell?
No, ma'am.
He's not here. Chairperson Berry?
Nothing tonight. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
That's it. Thank you. the Greater Leesburg CRA meeting to order, please. It's Tuesday, May 28th. The time is 5:56. We've already had an invocation this evening at an earlier meeting and a pledge. So we'll move on to item 2, approval of the minutes. Would somebody please make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from September 14th?
I move that we accept the meeting minutes from the September 14th meeting of the Leesburg CRA meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Ponder? Yes. Commissioner Sokol?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Could we also get a motion to approve the CRA new member workshop minutes from February 27th?
I move that we accept the new CRA minutes from the workshop that was back in September.
February.
February, excuse me.
Okay. February 27th, 2024.
Yeah, second.
We got a second? Roll call.
Commissioner Ponder? Yes. Commissioner Sokol?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Chairperson Berry?
Yes. So we have, would someone please introduce the resolution 3A?
Introduced, has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the chairperson and secretary to execute a resolution approving fiscal year 2024 facade, sign, and landscape grant awards and providing an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion on those items? Al, if you just give us a
the
quick.
staff report is self-explanatory. This is approving 3 separate facade sign landscape grants for the amounts that are in there with the allocation, I believe, that absorbs the earmarked monies for the fund. So there's 0 facade sign landscape money left in the program unless you refund it next fiscal year.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Sokol?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Ponder? Yes. Chairperson Berry?
Yes. Okay, so,
So,
you wanna give us a little 25?
Anna, if you put that back up again, Commissioner Berry requested another discussion on future budget stuff because of the board being new. Similar to the Carver Heights area, the left is pretty much the snapshot of what the downtown or Greater Leesburg CRA looks like. Right now, the CRA brings in about $1 million. Again, this is with a 6% increase in revenues for fiscal year 25. A little bit more of a stretching of funds on this one. The $1 million is really split 2 ways. The first way is half of the increment pursuant to the decree goes to the Leesburg CDC. So that's a requirement, which is the $537,000. Special events now absorbs pretty much the other half. We've got that estimated at $443. Insurance and debt service. The debt service is on the Main Street project, the gateways. That was a 10-year note. I think it has about, maybe it was a 15-year note and has about 4 or 5 years left. So long story short, right now there's a deficit in the downtown CRA of minus $10,000. That number's not to worry about right now. I hope our revenue estimate number is low so we can massage that more moving forward. But pretty much everything spoken for is provided everybody likes this spending plan.
Is that debt payment fixed? Is it one of the CRAs? It increases over the years, or
No, they're all pretty close to fixed.
I just got a question. Special events, anything new added other than what's already
No,
been in place?
special events are the special events division of the Recreation Department, not including Bike Fest.
Okay.
We will have a report for you on the 6th with regard to how the impacts of Bike Fest financially and how we can pull that off, or maybe you don't want to pull it off, but we'll have a fuller report for you on the 10th.
so? Excluding Bike Fest, the Greater Leesburg CRA is funding all other special events.
Yes. We
Shouldn't
made that
that be
determination
shared a
last
little
year.
bit with other, I mean, the whole community benefits from it. There ought to be some, I'm not saying equal split.
Well,
There should be-
technically, we're saying that the CRA is the primary benefactor from it, and we did that for financial and budgetary reasons,
Okay.
so not to overtax the general fund. You
Okay.
could kick the can into the general fund on that next
No,
year.
I was
but
actually
you'll
looking
have
at the
to
other
make some
CRA.
other financial. So,
And I wasn't
yeah.
trying to split it equally. I was just
I
saying.
got you.
Yeah.
So depending on where your goals go in the general fund, you're going to have a hard time kicking that one out of the
Okay,
CRA.
okay. You help me, thank you.
Is it possible to kick the can a little harder for the general funds for possibility of some home improvements in that
Commissioner,
area?
I understand where you're headed, and I'm going to say it depends on what the collective wisdom of the commission's priorities are for the general fund.
But they're getting $537,000 right there a year.
Who?
The
CDC.
CDC.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to do that
I
expense.
understand. I'm okay with that. I'm saying that's money that's being spent in that
Yes.
Pine Street district, Pine Street area.
Well, actually, the caveat to that is the CDC can spend their money where
Anyway,
they want to on
I understand.
that.
I understand that, but I mean, I'm saying here's 500,000 right here.
Yes.
Plus they have other revenue sources.
Yes.
So are they reinvesting any of that into what Commissioner Berry was just talking about?
Yes.
Into the housing?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, I assume they were, which is why.
And some various other projects around the downtown.
Okay.
But just for the Pine Street location?
I think I don't know the answer to that specifically, but they've invested in Carver Heights with that money. They being the CDC, has invested in
apartments out
Sunnyside.
there.
They've been
There's
investing
apartments.
in the snow apartments. So
Snow apartments.
the snow.
Yeah.
So there's I'm going to say there's a
We
pretty
all
good
over the
mix of
place. And
housing
we just put a
investments.
contract on Floyd Lane, which is East Street, which is
Yeah.
$280,000. So-
Great, great.
So we are working.
So Ferguson Street as well, may I ask? June Drive, East Street, Magnolia?
No, we own property on Barrett Avenue, which is right for Ferguson. East Street, which we're proposing 2025 to build a quadplex on the back of Floyd Lane. So we have not did any home repair. Our vision was to actually rebuild, revitalize through ownership for first-time home buyers and also the housing stock in that neighborhood. That's what we've been working on.
Thank you, John.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
excuse me. My only concern is that when we did the home improvement grant introduction from the CRA for Carver Heights, Montclair, that was introduced and shared with the Leesburg group. So there are applications sitting and waiting, if I'm not mistaken, Sandra, that people are hoping that they're on that list for improvements on the east side of town.
Yeah, I can't speak to what we have in waiting. I know the lion's share of applications is still in Carver Heights. I don't know the spillover effect into the Pine Street, the downtown CRA or the 44127 CRA. And outside of those areas, if you want to, I think where speaking for the commissioners, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think she's looking for the commission to fund the home program outside the Carver Heights CRA.
That is what that is what has been explained and introduced to most of the constituents from this last year's CRA project.
And if we're going to do that, I think we have to do it throughout the entire city. We can't sit here and segregate this money into certain blocks.
Yes, I think
I agree.
if you open the program up citywide, then that needs to be spread around.
But I was trying to make it a positive that we are, we have a shortfall in this CRA. However, $537,000 is going to the CDC for the benefit of the Pine Street, and I use that the whole neighborhood. But I was trying to paint that as a positive to benefit the community, which it is a big positive.
It is, I agree, but it doesn't cover all of the areas, and that's the concern for those. I don't know how many that's waiting. So
Well, this will sound like okay. This will sound smart, but that would apply to the whole city budget. I mean, I don't have enough money to do all the things I want to do in the city.
well, it's just that if you've already made some form of a commitment to a person and their application is in process, I think it's our duty as a city commissioner to try to honor that in some kind of way. We can't just drop them and say, oh, well, it's no money. That was part of the request for my initial project, stating the CRA for Carver, Montclair, and it was introduced to both CRAs. So your question is true. I think the goal would be to open up to all the other, to the city, but no, we can't do that now. But because we have certain people that have already submitted applications and sitting there waiting, I don't know how would you address that? How would you tell them that, no, this is not a process or a possibility?
It's part of the grant application, Commissioner.
Okay.
The grant application is a first come, first serve as funds are available.
Okay.
And so therefore, if you provided us an application and it's not where the funds are funded, the Carver Heights CRA, then you can deny that. And you can have a waiting list. The program clearly states first come, first serve as funds are available.
Okay.
And we have a similar program at the city level, right? I mean, we set aside certain amounts citywide.
Not for the home grant. The home grant was only funded with Carver Heights
Okay,
CRA.
okay, my bad. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that discussion for the budget? We don't need a vote on that. So it's on to roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes. You
Well,
mean as
we're
far
doing
as
a-
my
your roll call,
comments?
just-
Okay, my agenda items, I'm sorry, I was thinking somewhere else. I had a few agenda items that I don't want to hold too much, but our area of concern that I would like to bring up at our next meeting, if we could add that for the next CRA downtown that didn't make it to this agenda. And the concerns are the update on the John Leslie Park, which I know that's coming.
Yeah, I can answer that. That's on Cliff's desk right now.
Okay.
We're polishing. We've got I think we had $300,000 budgeted for it. The initial construction reports came back around $400,000. So we're trying to polish that up and get that. Yes, the
Tell
bathroom.
'em what-
That's the restroom at John L. Jones Park.
Right.
That's the restrooms as well as the gate. Fencing, no, not the fencing.
The
just
fencing's already there.
No pavilion. The fencing is already up, just the restrooms.
Just
And
the
there'll be
restrooms.
Two, male, female, one
Yes.
each. Yes. And then the next thing I'd like to add was the establishing a neighborhood watch program in the community of the Baker Street and Crosby, where we've had some major crime issues there. So that was the same thing.
And is that something you'd like to pursue at the next?
Yes, that's right. These are the two.
Okay. Commissioner Ponder? Commissioner Sokol?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Connell?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Peterson?
No, nothing tonight.
Chairperson Burry?
Nothing tonight. Get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. We're done. Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the City Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. The time is 6:15. Calling the meeting to order. We've had an invocation at an earlier meeting along with the pledge. So at this time, we're going to read a proclamation. Whereas Pride Month commemorates the June 1969 Stonewall Uprising in New York City, which is generally recognized as a catalyst of the LGBTQIA+ rights movement, and whereas the nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the City of Leesburg calls upon our citizens to embrace this tenet and to work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas the City of Leesburg denounces prejudice and discrimination based on race, religion, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, handicap, or marital status, and on May 26, 2015, Leesburg became the first municipality in Lake County to pass a non-discrimination ordinance extending vital protections to LGBTQIA+ individuals. And whereas the City of Leesburg acknowledges and appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQIA+ community, would strengthen our city as a whole, and whereas it is important for communities like the City of Leesburg to show support for all residents to actively promote the principles of equality, acceptance, and love, and to stand in opposition to tolerance and discrimination. Now, therefore, I, James A. Burry, Jr., Mayor of the City of Leesburg, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, and encourage everyone to reflect on the ways we can all live together through mutual consideration, respect, and understanding. Thank you. Do we have anyone here?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, do you want me to? Okay, so, okay. Is that everybody? There's more? Let them come. Pretty much. You got half a brain.
Not too much.
First, I'd like to say, for those of you who aren't aware, this is the Chief of Police badging ceremony for our new chief, Iozzi. I'd like to read a little statement from a press release we have. Chief Iozzi was served as Bureau Commander for Uniformed Services and Special Services and Investigation, and has provided dedicated service to the citizens of Leesburg since 1994. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice Administration from Columbia College. He has completed the FBI National Academy's 281st session, the Southern Police Institute's 127th Administrative Officers Course at the University of Louisville, and the Florida Police Chiefs Association Future Chiefs Seminar. As a command officer since 2014, he has provided direct supervision and management in personal matters, department planning, training, policy creation, budgeting, and general department-related functions. He has demonstrated the importance of direct leadership with accessibility and accountability to all citizens. His belief in community-oriented policing has successfully developed cohesive relationships with citizens, business owners, elected officials, and community stakeholders throughout his career. He has a diverse understanding of policing concepts critical to all community-driven objectives. Chief Iozzi welcomes the opportunity to lead the men and women of the Leesburg Police Department as Chief of Police, and his nearly 3 decades of living and working in Leesburg make him uniquely qualified to be the leader for this position. At this time, we're going to ask Andy to do a little swearing in here.
Do you, Joseph A. Iozzi, solemnly swear that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida, that you are duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that you will well and faithfully perform the duties of the office of Chief of Police of the city of Leesburg, Florida, which you're about to enter, so help you God.
I do. Thank you.
Now more applause.
Thank you so much. It's truly humbling the last week, all the calls, texts, everybody that's reached out in person. It's a truly humbling experience. I sincerely appreciate everybody. Certainly after the wait tonight, I greatly appreciate that is here. And thank you all for staying and being here for this special moment in my life. I appreciate that. Thank you to the commission, mayor, city manager, my illustrious deputy city manager, and trusting me with the responsibility of this position. I promise I won't let you down. To my family here and at home, thank you for 30 years of love, support, sacrifice. I greatly appreciate it. I love you all. To all the elected officials that are here, local, state, federal officials that are here in the room, I couldn't be more humbled by having everybody that's here today, all our chiefs, all the officers that are here from around the county. This is very special for me. I'm truly floored by all the people that are here, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Last but not least, to the men and women of Leesburg Police Department, I'm truly privileged and honored to serve with each and every one of you, and I promise that the future is bright and we will continue to move forward in a positive direction. So thank you all for that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No food? We do have snacks. They're at your house.
Thank you all so much. I greatly appreciate it. Look forward to working with you all in the future, too. Okay, sure. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Oh, stop. I appreciate it.
Hello, sir. How are you? It gets more fun.
That's what they say.
Thanks, JD. Yeah, man.
Wanted to save the best.
Yes, that's why I'm going next. That's why I'm.
Oh man, Brandon wants a hug. He's stuck in behind me.
If you guys would like a seat in the back, come on. You know, it's all right. Okay, we'll move on to the presentation tonight from the Community Development Corporation. Mr. John Christian has a presentation to Samantha Isom.
Good evening once again, Mayor. John Christian, 903 County Road 468. Chairman of the Board of the Community Development Corporation. Here I have, along with some of my board members here tonight. When I first mentioned to Al said, man, we had a lot of people working. We didn't want to just make this to belittle anyone, but to recognize one of Leesburg's finest employees, which is Samantha Isom, in recognition of her distinguished and devoted service to the community in 2024. Samantha has a unique connection with the CDC. When we first built Heritage Estate, she was one of the first homeowners that purchased a home with Homes in Partnership with the efforts of the CDC. Samantha works very hard for the city of Leesburg in inclement weathers, hot, cold, and we were preparing the Betty Coney building dedication. I called Tex Cliff, code enforcement came because the property surrounding it was just terrible. And Leesburg sent their finest, and Samantha Isom, not only did she lead her crew, but on several occasions she was able to actually jump on the equipment and make sure that property and looked well. And that morning we had the superintendent of schools and many of our local principals. She showed up with her crew that morning, blowing off the road to make sure that Leesburg represented well. Goes on to the Resource Center, the other property that are maintained here in the city of Leesburg. We just want to recognize to the commission and to the citizens of Leesburg that you have a jewel in Samantha Isom, and so many other our employees are recognized. But the CDC saw something very special with Ms. Isom and want to just give her this plaque and recognition today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. She's here tonight, so I'll give it to the city manager.
We'll get it to her.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, man.
All right. So is Dan going to do the comp plan? Or are you going? Comp plan update? Dan. Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask Dan to come up, Dan Miller, to give us a comp plan update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you tonight. I want to talk about three things. First of all, we're going to start talking about the comp plan. If we could go to that, Anna, please. We're going to talk about the comp plan, what it is, where we are with it at this time, the comprehensive plan for the city. We're going to speak a little bit about some population numbers and then some changes to our plan unit developments and land development regulations that we're going to be making. So those are the three topics I'm going to go with tonight. So if we could start on that first slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'm going to start by asking a series of questions at the top of these slides and answering them through this process. First question a lot of people are going to have is, what is a comprehensive plan? If you keep the word blueprint in mind, then you'll understand what it is. It's a blueprint to implement a city's vision for the future. So it's often cited as the comprehensive plan, growth management plan, master plan. It's all the same thing. It asks the question, where are we as a city? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? It guides our development actions through a 10, 20, 30-year period, depending on whatever the time period for the plan is. Ours will be 20 years, by the way. Generally, they're updated every 10 years. And they're based on U.S. Census data, and they do, per Florida law, per Florida statute, hold the full force and effect of law. Next one, please, Anna. So the purpose of a comp plan, this can be a little confusing. So we just pulled it right out of the statutes. It's kind of wonky here, but providing the principles, guidelines, standards, strategies for the orderly and balanced future development of the economic, social, physical, environmental, and physical development of an area. That's the simple explanation of it. Next slide, please. In explaining what a comp plan is and what it does, it's basically 14 topics that are essential to the efficient and appropriate growth, development, and management of a city. A comp plan consists of these. They're all state mandated topics. Future land use is the one you're going to be most familiar with because staff brings you maps for changes in that future land use. Housing, potable water, where do we get it from? Where does it go? Sanitary sewers, where it goes, or drainage. We have solid waste, conservation, recreation, a number of different topics that help us map out the plan for the future of the city. Next slide, Anna, please. So, how do we coordinate a comp plan? There are a lot of different agencies that we have to work with. We coordinate, Mr. Mayor and commissioners, with everyone. People have their concerns: water, wildlife, schools, are there enough police, are there enough fire? You hear this over and over and over. I want to show you this list because we're talking about local, regional, and state agencies from every department in the city. With Lake County, their planning, their public works, their school board, the Metropolitan Planning Organization of Lake and Sumter County, East Florida Regional Planning Council, the Florida Department of Commerce, which is the state's land planning agency, Department of Transportation, Environmental Protection, St. John's, and even the Navy. So all these comp plan amendments, rezonings, and things that you see, they go all over the state in efforts to coordinate. Our staff uses the comp plan as the guiding document for the overall development of the city. This is important because it is our guiding document on things that we bring to you and recommend. You will often see me make a recommendation, whether it's an approval or denial. That may not be what I feel about it personally. It's what it is based on the comp plan. And I will tell you, you've seen quite a few of those. But we have to recommend these actions, and on each comp plan map or text amendment, each zoning case. We also have to do periodic adjustments or changes to the comp plan for all of the elements. That might be individually, or it might be for the entire comp plan, as is the process we are going through now. So let's look at the revisions to the comp plan that we are going through right now. First of all, these elements are numbered. I'll just call it out: future element, land use element number 1. We will be bringing to you, I believe it's June 10, the Sunnyside Estates future land use map and text amendments. These are the map and text amendments that are going to implement the Sunnyside study that was not implemented back in 2004, 2005. We have implemented the Villages of West Lake future land use. We created that future land use category and zoning category. That's in, and it is expanding, as you are aware. The Orange Bend future land use. So there's some new future land use categories that are being added to the comp plan. There's also the Bug Springs impact overlay. That's in relationship to our relationship with the Navy. Over here on transportation, one of the things that you're always hearing us have to tell you is about other jurisdictional rights of way. Roads that are not under the city's jurisdiction, they're under the state, the Fed, Lake County. So we're going to have a map in our comp plan that shows that. We're also looking at putting in a goal objective policy of some type that seeks what we call a rational nexus, or a link between the collection of impact fees, in this case transportation impact fees, and the expenditure to where those funds are being expended. Are they being expended where the development is located? That's important to us as a city, and I know that you have discussed this before. Finally, the last element, it's a one-page element. It was required by the state. It's called the property rights element. Required by Florida statutes. We had to add it a couple of years ago in September of 2021. Very proudly, we were the second city in Florida to have it done. next one. Okay. Now here I want to basically, this is our busiest slide, so I'll make it as quick as possible. We're going to talk about, we're going to go across the top line horizontally and then go down here on the left. I'm saying this because you're going to see the comp plan soon, and we want you to be familiar with what it is and how it works, because I'm sure you're reading it all the time. So the comprehensive plan is essentially a book because it organizes a work, some type of work. Comprehensive plans have elements. Elements are essentially chapters of a book because it identifies the topic. You keep going down. The next three are linked here: goals, objectives, and policies. Goals are like the titles of the chapter because they're stating an idea or a vision. An objective, we could relate that to a paragraph because it clarifies the idea or vision. And then the policies are simply statements. They're describing the day-to-day actions that we as a staff will take. Then finally, we have the data. And that data that a comp plan is based on is simply the information that becomes the facts and research that is used to create the goals, objectives, and policies. Under the new comprehensive plan that we have, I'd like to talk about the data that we gather, staff and our consultant. That's the basis of every comprehensive plan. There's a ton of data that goes into that. Data consists of maps, figures, tables, the text in there. In a comprehensive plan, as we said earlier, our current comprehensive plan, we have it broken down with the data in the front of each element, with the figures, the maps, the text, and the goals, objectives, and policies in the back. Staff feels like, and working with Candy, who's the project, Candy Harper, the deputy director, who is the project manager on this particular project, we feel that the goals, objectives, and policies should come up first so that you see it, because you don't have a need to look at the data. We do, you don't, but you need to see what the goals and objectives, you need to see what the direction of the city is. So we're going to change that and put it more in this order, where you have the element, goals, objectives, and policies first, and then an appendix holding the data that has maps, figures, and tables. At around 4:30, I realized I did not have this slide in there. So I apologize for that, but this is the draft cover for the new comprehensive plan. And what it has, the background is a map, an aerial map of the city back here, and then you have City Hall. So we're going to be looking at something along that line. And then I pulled out what we have is our new conservation element. It's a little bit hard to see, but each element will then have a color code across the top and a symbol. In terms of this conservation element, there's a sun and some looks like water, almost like a beach. It's just a little icon symbol. So when you're looking through the document, you always know where you are. And we can get more into detail on that, but I wanted you to see that there has been a tremendous amount of progress on that front. So going very briefly here, a sample goal, objective, and policy. We just pulled one out of the current comp plan. We didn't want to take anything and put it in writing for the new comp plan just yet, as far as bringing it out here. Out of the recreation and open space element, we took one of the goals. A goal, again, is a overall statement, a broad-based statement of which direction you want to go, right? So the City of Leesburg shall provide adequate open space, parks, and recreation facilities, excuse me, to serve the needs of all residents of the city. That's all. That's the fluffy, cloudy part. And then we move down, looking at our natural resources. We will need to maintain a comprehensive park and open space system to ensure the provision of open space, which utilizes our existing resources and is consistent with the land and financial resources available. Okay, so we have to work with the money we have and the land we have. Finally, the policy. This is where the rubber kind of meets the road. The city shall continue to investigate opportunities for public access and enjoyment of the waterfront, improve bike, pedestrian, and equestrian trail systems, as well as open space opportunities where feasible. Recently, this commission has looked at opportunities for public access along the waterfront and along bike and pedestrian trails. We haven't got anything on equestrian yet, but this commission has looked at those items, so we are keeping up pretty well, I think, with our policies on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Thank you, Anna. You've got you there. Staff wants to make the new document to be less bureaucratic, less wonky, something more easy to use, something that the person on the street who comes into my office is not confused by. So the goals for the comp plan would be to simplify the overall language. We don't want it to look like it's written by attorneys. We want it to be understandable by your average person. By doing that, we are allowing clear, direct application of the goals, objectives, and policy, and we're creating a practical, usable document which will implement an overall vision for the day-to-day community development activities. Here I wanted to get into something that's really important for us. What is the difference between a comp plan and the zoning? And the key words here, if you look at the top left where it says comprehensive plan, a blueprint, and that's the key word again. Comp plan, blueprint go together. A blueprint for the future growth and development of the community. A comp plan divides land into the future land use categories using the future land use map that you see all the time. There's really only a few actual overall land uses: residential, commercial, industrial, and open space, which you can throw a lot of things into that. All development that we bring to you must be consistent with what the comp plan says for that particular piece of property. And the guiding document on this is Chapter 163, which you hear over and over from us, but that's the Chapter 163 of Florida statutes. So we have to be consistent with that, and the elements in themselves have to be internally consistent. Moving on to zoning, again, a couple of key words. Zoning is the implementing device of the comprehensive plan. Zoning is what we use to make the comprehensive plan work. Zoning is the legal authority that separates land uses. For example, zoning was started 100+ years ago. One of the reasons was slaughterhouses were next to neighborhoods. The workers lived in these row houses, walked next door to go to the slaughterhouse, and they're bringing back diseases, and so zoning separates incompatible land uses. Zoning does have to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and future land use map, and Chapter 25 is the guiding document here, and that's our zoning code, or as we sometimes refer to it, our land development regulations. We need to take two actions here, not tonight, but we wanted you to be aware of what's coming up. We have a water supply plan that we're working with Cliff Kelsey and the Public Works Department on. A water supply plan basically ensures consistency with the regional jurisdictional water use requirements. That's St. John's. So we will be amending the water supply plan, adopting that first. That consists of capital improvements, intergovernmental coordination, the potable water, and conservation elements. Those four elements will come to you first for adoption, and they will have been reviewed by Cliff's folks, my folks, and our consultant. Next, following that, all of the comprehensive plan elements will be adopted. And again, these are the same 14 elements you saw earlier with the future land use, housing, water, wastewater, et cetera. To give you a status update, in 2023, the contract began with the firm Calvin Giordano and Associates. They do a lot of work for local governments in the state of Florida. In 2023 through 2024, we were working, compiling data, meeting with city departments, recommending options. Calvin Giordano was. In this year, P&Z staff and CGA hosted some public workshops. I know that some of you came to those, one down at Venetian Center and one over at the Resource Center, to get citizens' feedback. And there were some, they put some surveys online on the city's website, and then that turned into basically the larger the word on what they printed out for us, or the larger the word, the more times people were concerned about it, and growth and transportation were the two big words that the two big feedback that we got on that. So we're working on preparing the elements and data that's been compiled from the departments, the staff, the charrettes, and citizens, and then reviewing the comp plan, the existing comp plan, updating goals, objectives, and policies. As I stated here, we have an almost complete conservation element and several others that we're all working on at the same time. And then, as we talked earlier, we're reorganizing the look and the layout of the comp plan for ease of use. Our next steps are to revise compile, and present. We'll have some timing on the next slide here, but we're going to revise the language, compile the data, complete the goals, objectives, and policies, and then present this to the Planning Commission, followed by being presented to you as the City Commission for your review and comment. And then here's a timeline. We began with number 1 there, which was the old comp plan. The data gathering and review was kicked off in March of 2023. From March until about September, we're making these changes. It takes a ton of data and a ton of work to put all this together. We will be presenting that to the Planning Commission we expect in August, maybe September, where we're shooting for August. City Commission reading would then, first reading would go to, we're planning for September. It has to be transmitted to DCA just like every other comp plan amendment, every other large-scale comp plan amendment. Then you'd have your second reading and transmittal for adoption, the adoption transmittal, which comes after that. So it should be completed early 2025. Now I want to talk just briefly about some population issues. We've talked about comp plan status, but the population and growth is clearly an issue. Why Florida? It's real easy. We have low taxes in relation to other states, and if you've come from other states, you truly recognize that. We have the warm weather. We have the attractions down in Orlando with Disney and Universal and all those things. We have low regulation in comparison to most other states. We have the beaches, and there's plenty of other reasons. But everybody wants to be here, so you end up with some positives and some negatives. On the positive side, there will be increased economic activity. There'll be new businesses, new jobs. Those are good things. We'll have increased tax base for infrastructure and cultural opportunities. As we grow as a city, our culture will expand, and we'll have a wider net to cast. One of the things that we as a city keeping the youth home. And that doesn't mean making them stay home. That means if they want to go off to college and come back, we still want them to come home. But there's negatives too. There's increased population density, there's the road congestion, the increased commute times, the demands on the infrastructure, water, wastewater, police, fire, gas, and other things. So we understand as a staff that this is very difficult decisions that we're placing in front of you. We're making our best recommendations. But there are positives and negatives to this. I want to give you a quick, thank you, a quick historic look at the population growth of Leesburg. From 2000, beginning in about 2000, our population was right around 16,000 people. Ending here in 2023, the last year I have good numbers for, we're at right about 30,000. So essentially doubled. For the first 12 years of this century, we had a 2.25 average annual growth rate. The next 10 years, which brings us up to last year, that increased to 4.2%, but overall about 4%. It's not blowing out the windows, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, thank you, Anna. Here's some population facts comparing Lake County and Leesburg, and what you'll note is they incline on the same sort of graph angle here. In 2000, you had 210,000 population in Lake County. As you roll through, it continues to grow up to 2023, where it's essentially almost doubled. In Leesburg, we're at 16,000 here in 2000, and as you roll through the years, here we are in 2023, just slightly under double, the same as Lake County. I think Lake County may be about growing a little bit faster than we are by a few percent, but that's where we are. Okay, this is really a traffic slide. And what I want to, what I like for you to look at is the intersection of these two circles. For each person living and working in Lake County, okay, there's one person that lives and works in Lake County. There is roughly, these aren't a perfect one, but I'm trying to get the ratio across here. So you have one person that lives and works in Lake County. You have one person that works in Lake County but lives outside of Lake County. Here's the problem. We have two people for each of these we have two people that live in but work outside of Lake County. That tells you that people are going outside of Lake County, so they're having to take a long trip down the roadway to get somewhere. That's the solution to that. The number we'd prefer to see is 121, where more people are living and working in Lake County. To battle that is a long and hard job, and the answer to it is jobs, local jobs. Okay. Finally, last slide here. I wanted to bring you up to date on some PUD and land use changes that we are making. In the PUDs, as you will see and have seen very recently, we're adding a 4-year sunset to all planned unit developments. Previously, this was 10 years, and before that, it was a 4-year, just a straight 4-year sunset clause. The difference here is that it will revert back to RE1 zoning, which is 1 acre per unit. Not 1 unit per acre. You have to have 1 acre to put a single house on. So if a developer comes in and gets a new PUD from moving from the present time forward, they will, if they don't act within 4 years substantially, it's going to automatically revert back to 1 acre per unit, and they get to come back to you hat in hand. Okay. We have added dark sky lighting to all our planned unit developments. We want to add that to our land development regulations. You'll be seeing that shortly. Implemented 25-foot landscape buffer, so when you put 2 residential PUDs side by side, you've got a 50-foot buffer. That 50-foot buffer does a lot more than just buffer people from each other. It actually incorporates what you might call wildlife corridors. It actually allows for better drainage. There's a number of things that these things do, so I thank you for your support on those. And then additionally requiring new trees in residential development, so we appreciate your support. Under the land development regulations, as I stated earlier, we're going to utilize the dark sky lighting and add that in. We need to revise our mobile food vendor ordinance. The state came in and preempted us on even requiring permits. So what we've gone to doing is writing letters of location compliance, saying, okay, you can use this location. But the state has come in and said you cannot require them to get a permit. So we're going to be bringing some regulation there. One of the things we also like to do on number 3 is delete excess regulation where it's not needed. We have a regulation right now that requires a limited use permit for a drive-through. The Chick-fil-A had to get a limited use permit. That's embarrassing for us as a staff to say you need to get a $200 permit, and we have to post it and do all these kind of things. It's not necessary, and so we would like to get your support on that. We're going to add a conditional use permit for car washes. We have a bunch of car washes in town. And finally, one of the things we'll be bringing shortly is, in order to save historic structures that are outside of the historic district, if we can get a bonus density on certain structures that are historic but they're outside the historic district. We already have one that's in the historic district. And a perfect example of that is the 1502 High Street, which is the old women's college, which we have some serious people that are very interested in refurbishing and turning that into a useful facility. So I thank you for your time. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions from anybody? Okay. And we'll hear back.
You'll hear back.
Yeah, we don't have dates certain, but we'll get that going.
Yeah, you'll hear back in the
Pretty
form
soon.
of the resolutions and the transmittals.
Okay. All right. At this point, we're going to move on to public comments. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. And if you would please give us your name and your address when you come to speak. Are there any public comments?
Good evening, everybody. Lay brother Stephen Gerard Sidlowski, voting address 1109 West 8th Street, Lorain, Ohio. So I'm a snowbird, if you will. I would like to also mention that Kristen Nelson could not be present here. She is a resident of Leesburg. I would also like to mention that John Labriola, a guest of speaker at Villages Salt and Light, also knows about what I'm going to be delivering, this positive message to all of you. And he's giving a full thumbs up for Leesburg and many other cities and towns to move in this new direction. I looked at your wonderful Leesburg mission statement, beloved Mayor and Commissioners and citizens. It says in that mission to provide effective and efficient municipal services that promote public safety, economic growth, quality of life. It probably could be revised, actually, to not just include to promote public safety, but to preserve public safety, too. This is not the time, in my view, because time is of the essence, that you should be twiddling your thumbs and go into a stall mode. This is a time to become courageous city leaders and to guide your city manager to place the charter amendment preamble covenant language on the agenda immediately. The perfect time to make baby personhood an agenda item is always, I feel, between Mother and Father's Day, because we are celebrating our own love of life with our appreciation of Mom and Dad. Something to think about. Your wonderful staff has been very kind to me. Just to let you know, Commissioners, they just sent you my May 23rd letter addressed to all 441 of your Florida cities and 67 counties. I'm delighted to let you know, since I last talked, Gilchrist County actually passed a new resolution in opposition to the vagueness and the deceitfulness of Florida Amendment 4. I delivered you the personhood resolution, which will also counter Florida Amendment 4. I encourage you to get this on your agenda, because my conversation with Tina Dawson at your Lake County Supervisors of Election made it very clear that any resolution ordinance that's going to enable the citizens to vote this new language into your city charter must be delivered by August 23rd. Happens to be my sister's birthday. So please, I encourage you to move in this new direction. I invite you to read your Bible daily. Even Abraham Lincoln enjoyed reading the Holy Bible daily. God bless you. Thank you for the time. I hope I presented a nice positive message to you and you become more enthusiastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull? Can I get a motion to approve the slate?
Yeah, motion to approve all items on consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. All right. We're on to public hearings and non-routine items. Would someone please introduce item 6A1?
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, establishing the Grace Key Groves Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, providing for authority and power of the district, providing for the Board of Supervisors of the district, providing for the district budget, providing for functions of the district, providing for miscellaneous provisions, and providing an effective date.
This item is going to be pulled from the agenda. There is an item that the Grace Key Grove CDD has to iron out before we can move forward with this. So this will be reheard July 22nd, 2024, here at the Commission at 5:30, hopefully 5:30. So we're going to remove that. So if someone would please introduce item 6B1.
I'll introduce, has to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 506 plus minus acres from City of Leesburg PUD to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development to allow for single-family, attached and detached, with commercial and multifamily uses for a property generally located west of County Road 33, north of Florida Turnpike, and south of County Road 48, lying in Section 21, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
This is a first reading, so if Dan, if you could come up just for a second, because I think we had a couple of comments we wanted to ask about.
Yes,
Number one, this is a PUD that we have already introduced and is expiring. And
Yes, sir. This was originally a PUD under ordinance number 16-40. Approved in 2016, obviously. There were 1,999 units that were approved there, and it was done under a very unique design, which had some very small lots and some, I forget what they're called. Find in a minute. Motor court lots. That's the name I'm looking for. Basically, there were very small lots, and everyone would park in the back, and they have very small setbacks. So it was a very unique design. Unfortunately, there were no developers who were interested in designing, in going by that code. So basically what is happening here is we've got a standard builder who has come in, given us a new site plan. The old ordinance expired, and they're taking it from 1,999 to 1,500. They're reducing the units by 25%, throwing in a variety of different units from single family, some apartments, and then some live-work units along Highway 33. And live-work being you might live upstairs and work downstairs, so you could have a retail or an office. So the request is simply to change that. If I'm not mistaken, this is a second reading?
First reading.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, that is first reading, Mr. Mayor. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And Mr. Scott Glass of Shoots and Bowen is here as well, I believe.
Okay. I did have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the new PUD,
okay,
we would be requesting the dark sky lighting.
Yes, sir.
The
That's
trees.
That's in there.
Okay.
The 4-year needs to be added, the 4-year expiration.
We would like to have, I would like to, I'm not speaking for the board, but I would like to see that.
And the reason it's not in there is that we originally started working with them before that was discussed. So we brought the PUD forward, but it's fine from staff standpoint. We'd prefer to have them all consistent.
Okay, and then also one thing that wasn't mentioned was the roads. Interior roads built to the standards of Leesburg. That's a standard in the PUD now,
That is a standard in the PUD. There's language that requires all utilities to be built to City of Leesburg standards.
Okay, so that would also be
sir.
a part of this.
That's in there now.
So does anyone have any other questions for?
I do. Dan, so the PUD on this is expired or will be expiring?
I believe it expired several years ago.
Okay, so if a new PUD is not approved for, what does the zoning go back to, the 1-to-1 you're saying?
No, sir. That would only be if the new PUD was approved, if this PUD was approved and 4 years went by. Right now, we do not have a reverter clause in anything. Okay. We simply have an expiration, and they would have to go back, do a redesign on something, and then come back before you.
Okay, so if the proposed PUD, if it's not approved, what becomes of the property? It just stays vacant?
It goes back to where it was, to where it is right now, with the PUD from 1640 on it, but you can't do anything with it because it was expired, so they would have to come back with a new design, significantly redesigned from whatever you disapproved here if you chose to disapprove it.
Okay. And the access to the subdivisions would be off of 33?
Be off 33 and 48, yes, sir.
So
multiple.
So two-lane roads.
That is correct. Now, Lake County, in their comments, will require widening of those roads and adding turn lanes and signals or anything that they normally require. They're going to definitely put
To
here.
get in and out, but it's not going to really help some of the intersections.
At the intersections, that's a long-term issue,
Yes,
I'm afraid.
The
Yes, sir.
intersection of 33 and 48 is awful.
Yes.
And my understanding, there's nothing planned in the county to address that intersection. It's absolutely terrible.
At this time,
There's
I'm not
even any
aware.
turn lanes for that intersection. No, I mean, there's no signal lights as far as turn lights, nothing. I mean, it's a bad intersection to continue to put more and more development on that road.
Understood.
And I know it's just first reading, I understand, but, as I've spoke before, I mean, I really think we have to take a look at this development here. I mean, all development from here on out. I mean, you've got a tremendous amount of lots already been approved in the city, already out there. I don't know we need to continue to add more and more when the roads can't keep up, the school system's not keeping up, our infrastructure not even keeping up, and we have to pass, to try to get the state to approve to pump more water. Every couple years, we got to look at adding capacity to our wastewater system. I mean, I really think, we really need to take a look at future development.
And I would agree with you on that. And I think the comp plan, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I
with
understand that, but I mean, here's 1,000-something more units being proposed. I mean,
so my question also is, we just went through a lengthy fight over a PUD that was wanted on a piece of property, and we said no. We went to the went through all the steps, and we lose because it's part of our comp plan. So what's the difference in this piece of property?
well, I mean, I would think the PED's expired, so they have no.
Well,
plan
the
unit
PUD on the
development.
other one was expired,
They have
and
no
we
plan
said
unit
no to the new
development.
PUD.
So I would say they can come in, present a new PUD as they're proposing, but we don't have to go along with the density of that PUD. I mean, that's all rural property out there. I mean, I really think it should be acreage to units.
I understand. My concern is I don't want to go down another road where I have another developer suing me because my comp plan says he can do this, and
Well, we're not
we
saying
say
you can't
no.
develop it. We're just saying I think this is too many units, that the density's too high.
But what's the current comp plan on it, Dan?
The current comp plan is a state, I believe it's a state residential. It's either, and forgive me, it's either a state residential or residential mixed use. Either way, it's 4 units an acre max. The current PUD, as it sits, is almost 2,000 units, which maxed out the 4 units an acre. This new one brings it down to under 3. And this commission has proven around under 3, you've proven or stated that you're comfortable with that level of density in the past. I do respect the comments that are being made here and understand. From staff's perspective only, okay, the only way to get the roads widened is to put the houses in, because the taxpayers will be there in order to widen the roads. As we sit right now, that problem will sit there for the next 20 years because there's not enough, with respect and not to disagree with what you're saying, because I understand. I go through that intersection daily. Until the density and the number of houses is there will not be a road widening. When the development comes in, they have to widen the road along their boundary, along 33 and 48. That leaves less for the county to do and less for the taxpayers to do down the road. And I know this is a difficult subject, and I respect what you're saying, but that would be staff's opinion on it.
And any more questions for
I mean, we don't have any control when the county decides to do anything. I mean,
Correct, or the,
I
DOT
think-
for that matter.
Exactly.
And it's not on the.
Our control device is to slow the development down. I mean, that's the only mechanism we have. Nothing we do with the county or the state on doing anything with these roads out there.
Right. And this is only a first reading.
Sure, I understand that.
But from my perspective, the road at 1500, having the roads, having the trees, having the dark sky lighting on a PUD for that property, and also having the reverter clause that if this developer does not do it in 4 years, it goes back to.
And then it would be one
per
acre per unit.
Yes.
And in addition, finally, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Scott Glass of Schutz and Bowen Law Firm is here if you had any further questions for him. And he will be at the next reading, which should be June 10.
You have a question for Dan, or did you?
Yeah, I do have one question. Got kind of embarrassed to ask it. I've heard the complaints about the intersection of 33 and 48. I'm not asking this developer to completely redo it, but do we have a right to at least ask the developer to consider some turn lanes? I mean, that is I'm trying to keep it simple but help traffic flow. That is
I believe
we all know the
you
intersection.
contribute, and I need to be checked on this, so I will contact Lake County. If you contribute to the capacity of the road, you are required to expand the roadway where it is adjacent to your property.
Right. I understand that.
In
Thank
this
you.
case, there will be an impact at 33 and 48. Generally, off-site is not something we can do. I don't know the legalities with that, and if the developer can be made to do anything with that intersection.
Yeah, and that's my question. And it's not fair to try to put this on this one developer either. I wish we had talked
Correct,
about this ahead of time.
There's a number coming.
I was just throwing out an idea, Dan,
Yes, sir.
because that intersection, we've heard the complaints there.
And staff gets them as well, and I will check with Lake County and find out about that,
Okay.
and I can work with the city attorney just to ensure.
It's just an idea. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Dan? Any questions for the petitioner, or would the petitioner like to speak?
Good evening. Sorry, I don't want to keep you hanging there, but I had a question for Dan. I think the questions I have, I'll be able to address, and Dan will be able to answer them.
Okay.
But
Just give us
I'm
your
sorry.
name and
Actually, it's Scott Glass. My business address is 300 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida 32801, and it's Schutz and Bowen. Chutes and Ladders, Schutz and Bowen. So I'm available to answer any questions. We have representatives from the developer here as well. We know it's first reading, and we still have some things to work out. We just got our traffic impact analysis submitted. I'm sure staff will have some questions on that, which, there are going to be questions, and I appreciate that. I live in West Orange County. I know crowded intersections. I know incredible growth rates. So we'd be happy to work with the city attorney and staff.
And trust me, I'm sensitive to bring it up in front of you after we've approved two others right in front of you. So, it's a sticky situation, but it was just an idea.
I understand.
So any other questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I think I misspoke. This is the second ordinance we had on this property. I think we had one before 2016. I don't see the expiration on this, and I was sure that there was some expiration here. I apologize for that error. I'm not seeing it. I'll get back and double check and be 100% sure. I was 100% sure when I walked in, so obviously I must have missed it if it's there at all. But we did have an ordinance previous to this one on the property, and I think that's what was in my mind.
So there are entitlements for 1,900 on it right now, but it's the micro, and it has to be built to those specs.
It has to be built to those standards.
Okay.
I will go back and double check. I apologize for misspeaking, but I'm afraid that's what I did.
But Dan, I thought we amended the code a while back, maybe a year or so ago, to the 10 years. I thought they were all 4 or 5 before that. I'm just trying to help you out.
Prior to that, mostly they were 4 years.
Okay.
Occasionally there would be a 2 or a 3, but most of them were 4 years. None of that's ever been in the actual code. Those have been requests of the commission as the commission sees fit at a given time. And we've operated with that.
Do we have any public comment? We'll throw that up for this. You don't need to swear anybody in, do you, Grant, for a first reading?
I think it'll be okay for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
George Waters, 3810 Westover Circle, Leesburg, and the Plantation. This proposal was not approved by the Planning Commission, as I recall, due to traffic. And I thought at that time I heard that it went back automatically would be at the 1999 thing because that had no expiration date on it, if I remember that meeting correctly. Yes. Yeah. As noted, Route 33 is a mess. It's become increasingly busy with hundreds of large trucks using every day, and the speed limit in that area is 55 miles an hour. And the area I'm talking about is where our west gate is out of the Plantation, and it goes out right to where I think the main entrance might be to this. I don't know where the main entrance is for sure. Manor Oaks Road comes in right to where I believe the entrance is, and I would suggest that if we are going to move forward with this, we put a traffic signal there, because that's that's our second busiest gate, mostly with exits. Denham Village has 4 exits on Route 33. One is just 0.2 of a mile to the north of Manor Oaks Road. I would suggest that be reduced down to 3 entrances and exits, and if they need another one, that could go over on 48 somewhere, because they're awfully close together, and given the other development, Cedar Creek and the rest of them, that's going to put a lot of entrances and exits on that little 2-lane highway. The city expects villagers to come into town for food and entertainment. As noted, that intersection with 48 and 33 is an absolute disaster. They're going to come down from the village and say, I don't need to deal with this, turn around and go back to the island. So we want to do something that's going to help us at that intersection. Couple of questions. Will the community be gated with gate guards? And if so, that's going to mean more backup of people trying to turn in to get into there. If not, will kids going to ride their bicycles on 33 to get to the little convenience store there at the corner or elsewhere, is that going to pose a problem on a very narrow road that is so heavily trafficked? So those are questions I have. I'm not in favor of it, obviously. I kind of like looking at the cows, but I know there's development. I know it has to happen somewhere. But we need to mitigate the impact on traffic going in and out of 33 and make it safe for all of the residents and people who use it. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I just want to add one thing for his clarification, that so I just want to make sure you understand that the city has no authority on red lights, I don't think.
Yeah, we have no authority on red lights. We have no authority on the intersection of 33 and 48. That's an MPO, and I would encourage everyone to attend the MPO meetings and let them know how bad it is, because that's the only way you get anything changed. And I can tell you right now that it's not on the radar, so to speak. So this, do we have second reading?
June 10th.
This will be June 10th, second reading here at the Commission Chambers. All right. Would someone please introduce item 6B2?
I'll introduce. Go ahead.
Introduce 6B2 by title only, please.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, correcting a Scrivener's error on ordinances 24-4, 24-5, and 24-6, Village Palms annexation, large-scale comprehensive plan, and PUD rezoning, pertaining to the legal description for property consisting of approximately 316 acres, being generally located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, as legally described in Section 19, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, and Section 30, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
So this is a first reading also. When will the second reading on this
June
one?
10th.
This will be June, I said 6/10. 6/10, here in the City Commission chambers at 5:30. Was there any comments for anyone who have any? All right. Let's move on. Would someone please introduce 6B3, 4, and 5?
I'll introduce 6B, 3, 4, and 5 be read by title only.
6B3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 0.434 plus minus acres, being generally located south of Griffin Road and east of County Road 468, lying in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida. Provided that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city. Providing that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances. Providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 5 and providing an effective date. 6B4, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 0.434 plus minus acres from Lake County urban high density to City of Leesburg general commercial for property generally located south of Griffin Road and east of County Road 468, lying in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B5, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 0.434 plus minus acres from Lake County RP Residential Professional to City of Leesburg SPUD Small Plan Unit Development to allow for a salon use for a property generally located south of Griffin Road and east of County Road 468, lying in Section 21, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
So this is a first reading also. Dan, if you would come just give us a quick synopsis of that, please.
This is a half an acre on the southeast corner of Griffin Road and Thomas Avenue. It's currently a house there. Over time, the staff is anticipating that corner to go commercial. So this is one step for the existing owner, Miss LaShonda Bernard and her husband, to take it from a single-family house to a salon-type use. There is something across the road there across Griffin on the other side of the road with a PUD there too. Yes. So this is just the beginning of the commercialization of that corner. That's all it is.
Any questions for Dan?
I have a question, Dan.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to look at the aerial. Can you tell me exactly where the homes start from this location? Where the home area, when you look at the aerial?
That's probably county access.
Yeah, it's to the left or the right of 468, though. I can't tell. I'm just asking. Can you test?
It's on the east side of the
Okay. I couldn't.
It's the southeast corner.
Yeah. It's actually one lot in. I apologize. One lot in from the southeast corner. The actual southeast corner is owned by Lake County for retention. So if you'll look at this map, there we go. It's right there. You can see it.
That's what I have
highlighted where it says subject property. There's one more lot to the left. That's basically a depressed area, a depression area that's owned by Lake County. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So the goal will be to the whole area going Griffin Road. I guess that would be
north side
on
there.
the north will be all business.
Yes, ma'am. What we're anticipating, if I can find my pointer here. Over time, this is not going to be an overnight thing. She plans to leave the house as it sits. It'll still look like a house. It'll have just a salon there. This property across here was rezoned into small PUD year or two ago, and for storage units and office units. Back over here is Terra Oaks. So this makes a very good commercial corner to serve the neighborhoods back here, down here, the folks up to the north, and Terra Oaks. Eventually, it's not going to be an overnight change, but over time, we feel like that's the way it'll go. We've added a number of things into that PUD so that once if she owns it for 5 years and wants to sell it, there will be other uses that are possible there that won't require a rezoning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan on this? This will lay over and have second reading on 6/24. Is
Yes,
that
sir. Yes, sir.
here at the chambers? Someone please introduce 6B5. Oh, wait a minute, we did that.
We did
Excuse me,
that,
we're
yeah.
going to
6C1.
6C1, excuse me.
Yes, no.
Turn the page.
Hi, my name is Main Hussein.
Okay.
You might want to wait till you introduce it.
Hold on, we got to introduce it here first. Someone please.
Okay.
Yeah, introduce 6C1, please.
Yeah, ask that read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, extending the electric meter connection deadline pursuant to the charges in aid to construction agreement with Venetian Isles Developers, LLC, and providing an effective date.
This is also on the first reading? Or
No, this is a resolution.
So I need a
this
second.
is a non-routine.
Need a motion.
I need a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve.
Did you make we did?
Second.
I need a second, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a second.
Yes, sir.
All right, so discussion, just, are there, anybody need explanation on this, or do you want to give a, I mean, has everybody?
I'll take a 30-second one.
I'll give you a 30-second. Section 25-474, I believe, is the correct reference number that governs how we do development agreements in the electric department. We entered into an agreement with Venetian Isles about 4 years ago, June 1, 2020. They were required to make certain improvements and to certain improvements, the hotel, different commercial sites. It was about 27 buildings in all that they were required to build pursuant to the development agreement that we executed. If they did not execute those developments, they put up a surety bond in the amount of $230,000. At this time, the electric department has spent about $870,000 readying the Venetian Isles PUD. To date, only 1 meter has spent. So, pursuant to that agreement, they have not lived up to the expectations of the development agreement, and the city is now in the position to call the surety bond. Code that I referenced requires the commission to make the determination on whether to extend the development agreement or to call the bond. Our recommendation is to call the bond. We've met with Dr. Hussein on Friday. He's here today probably to give you some more information. But essentially, because this is a high visibility area, there's a commercial subdivision that had some issues during development. Because of the considerable investment the city has put in to the subdivision without return on our investment, we're recommending that you pull the bond in hopes that it spurs on development of the PUD.
Any questions for Al? All right, public comment.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to start first. So thank you very much, Al, and thank you for meeting with me on Friday and today. So the plan really, I work in Leesburg. I've been living in Leesburg since 2006, and I actually, one of the areas that I encourage some of my colleagues to invest in it so we can, because I love the city and I feel I'm part of it. I even coach soccer, as you know, in the city. So anyway, we had issues, I don't deny that. We had the COVID first, the start 2020, so that delayed a lot of projects. And we successfully, even with all the obstacles, had the hotel going, and we are working the apartments. We had other issues with the manager who was managing the project. Unfortunately, some bad things happened, and I honestly wasn't that involved because we had other people involved. But it's kind of embarrassing to be here because really we did promise a lot, and it does look that we have to do better work. What I'm asking for, I didn't know about this bond till like last month or so. A lot of stuff we're discovering now that a lot of promises made to the city, but now I'm getting more involved, getting more people involved. What I'm asking for, we still are. We put a lot of money in this project, and we still want to make it like a successful project. So the apartments actually, Mr. Parker, he can give you an update. We should be closing soon on the apartments. I think we have like 12 meters already in those apartments. We have another meter for the water pump. So we are working on this, we are going to work like to have like office buildings and ALF. So all these projects are things that we're working on. What I'm asking for is, because this is something we just found out, it's not easy to get cash. And pulling the money from the bond will affect us negatively in a credit report, and it will make us look bad. If the city, I'm asking the commissioner to kindly like extend for us the bond. I don't know how long, maybe 6 months, a year, but if this is something, we are, again, can you give him just update what we're doing? So this is update I didn't know when we met, but I asked what's going on, and he has more updates about what we're doing right now. What's going on?
Adrian Parker, Leaders Land Management. The biggest update is going to be on the apartments. They have been working with the city for other off-site utility infrastructure upgrades. That's going well. That is, as stated, 12 meters. We have an additional meter on the site because we did a Florida Waterwise project where we're actually pulling from the wet retention pond. So that way we did not reduce the resources for reuse water for the city of Leesburg. The apartments are going through HUD funding. The last hurdle that we had with that was FEMA. There was a floodplain on the site. We were going to do a letter of map amendment. They came back and wanted us to do a revision, which is the difference between 3 months to a year process. We actually have the approval from them now, the new map, and we did the publishing this week as approved by FEMA. So that'll be the last steps so we can actually start getting those apartments going vertical and seeing some type of infrastructure back out there and going. The doctors, would like to ask for at least a year extension of the bond, or if the commission so chooses to pull the bond, to at least extend it to a time, give them a month or two, so that way they can pull their liquidity and pay the bond instead of the bond being pulled.
Yeah, I think we can do, if we extend it so we can put more investment in the apartments and other things, but listen, I understand we messed up. I don't expect the city to go out of its way. But I promise you, I'm going to be more involved in it, and I'm going to make sure that this thing works very well to make the city proud.
Well, I would support.
Comments?
I would support a couple months to let him unwind it. If it benefits him and the project.
Comment about that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, what's your question?
So, can we extend the time period?
Yes, sir. The code allows the commission flexibility to extend up to a period of 2 years. You cannot exceed a 2-year extension.
So
if there's an extension, though, the surety would need to be involved with that also. So it would be sort of a three-party kind of deal, right? So if the commission were to approve an extension, it would need to be subject to the bond company, extending their bond as well, agreeing to extend that time period. Or alternatively, the developer could put up the cash in lieu of the bond, because originally they had an option to bring the cash to the table and then receive reimbursement out of that cash that was paid to the city, or provide the insurance policy, basically, and then get a reduction on the liability of that insurance policy as the meters are all turned on. So, you could sort of If the developer were to come up with the money to pay a cash bond, then that would solve the city's problem from the security standpoint, because you'd have the cash in hand. If you are inclined to give an extension and allow a bond, then the bonding company would need to participate in that. So I would just suggest that any approval of that nature would be conditioned on the bond company providing a bond to cover that extended period.
And I'm okay with that for 60 days. I mean, to give him time. We're not damaged. We have am I missing something? We have a bond in place. No, we have a bond in place. We're not losing it.
Long story short, there's a bunch of sticky wickets in here. The 60-day extension, a 60-day extension, in my opinion, won't help the developer a bit. The requirement, and so let me clarify a few things. It's not meters. We reference meters in the agreement. It's buildings. Each building will have multiple meter sets. For them to get their full deposit of $230,000 back, or not call the bond, it was required that 27 facilities had to be built. So that's an ALF with multiple meters. That's apartment complexes with multiple meters. So we spec out in the agreement that they were required to build 27 facilities, and we called that a meter. It's a building. There is no way on God's green earth that the developers are going to live up to the development requirements in 60 days.
No, I think you're running the two together.
It's probably
to build 27 buildings.
No, what I was trying to accommodate him, only to give him time to create the cash in lieu of the bond. That's all I was trying to do. And he said that benefited him. That's all I was trying to do.
Yeah, I think the other moving part is sort of a bond claim deadline we have. We're sort of up against the wall.
Okay, well, that changes things. I mean, if there's a way to maneuver, I'm just trying to accommodate if we can.
There's maybe some flexibility, I guess, that increases the quicker the developer might be able to come up with the cash.
So which would be today's May 28th, right? So he's got 3 days to provide another surety.
Or come up with cash.
And if he provided another surety, which would be at your discretion, a $220,000 surety for 2 years or 1 year, fill in that number. He needs to do that by June 1. B, he needs to provide the cash by June 1. Then we don't call the bond. June 1 comes, we need to call the bond. If the bond is then called, we hold that cash. They still move forward. Okay, and then we would pay the surety back, not the developer. We would pay the surety back the money, not the insured, which is Venetian Isles.
That's spelled out in the
which
code,
is slightly different than we discussed on Friday.
It is, right.
We looked into the legalities of that since our meeting.
We went through the code.
So the code specifically requires that at the end, if the bond is called, you can still extend for 2 years. You're holding on to the cash, but then that cash is paid to the surety, not the developers.
And I may have
So what's the benefit of extension then, if you're going to take the cash from the bond?
If you live up to the development requirements, then perhaps your surety got their money back and your credit won't be hurt.
But wouldn't it be hurt once you take the money out? Is that?
And all I was trying to do is I heard a request that if you let me put up cash, it would benefit them from a credit standpoint. That's all I heard. And now we have 3 days to do it. All I'm saying, I would support that.
3 days would be hard to get that much money.
I'm sorry?
I mean, 3 days to get that money, it's hard to.
Okay,
20 investors, so.
Okay, if it's not possible. I was just going off your comment, trying to help.
I have a question. So with the extension for 2 years, does the developing still stay the same far as the same building, or what?
The development stays the same as what was approved in the original PUD.
And we don't need 2 years. I'm not asking for 2 years extension. I'm just asking for enough time, to collect the cash from the investors, basically.
Dr. Hussain, please understand that the extension means that at the end of the clock, whatever it is, 60 days, 12 months, 24 months, the entire PUD needs to be built out to avoid the same situation in 12 or 24 months. You may have one building built in 24 months, but then you're only going to get $8,500 back.
Right.
Your entire subdivision.
But you will have the cash at least.
No, we wouldn't. Depends on where they go and depends on what they do. Whether you provide another surety, whether you provide a cash deposit. At the end of the day, the requirement is the entire PUD has to be built, not a portion.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
so
I was misunderstood. All I was trying to do was
I don't think
accommodate.
at this stage the developer is going to build 27 units
I'm not saying that.
in 12 months. So we're going to be back here with the same problem again.
He kind of answered my question. He kind of, we said we have 3 days to do it. And he basically implied that didn't have time, so I don't think we have many options. I would take cash in lieu of the bond, but if you can't do it, you can't do it.
He's got 3 days to provide 200, and it's 220,000 bucks.
But what's the idea of the extension?
Well, there'd be extensions.
I mean, look, the commission, you all can do what you want. Okay? The best gift to the developer would be to not call the bond, extend it free for nothing. But then you've got no teeth. Okay? And you're not assured anything. You've got an $870,000 investment from the city. It was supposed to ROI, return in investment, in 4 years. So we have 4 years, $1 million out. We are not returning on investment.
I mean,
So we
remember,
have $1 million.
Those years were COVID years, so it's not like it was, or 1 year.
Hey, Dr. Hussein,
Yeah.
let me address the commission.
Yeah.
So we have $1 million investment, and the electric fund is not returning their investment. The developer said in 4 years we would have 27 facilities. We have 1. The sweetest deal that you can give the developer, call off the dogs. Don't call the bond. Let it expire. Let them extend for 2 years for nothing, and you have 0 teeth. You let them off the hook. That's what he wants.
No, that's not what I want.
Okay,
That's not what I asked for.
okay, that's what the developer wants. That's not what he's asking for. But if you gave that to him today, I'm sure he'd get a nice Christmas
That was his
present,
first
all right?
request. He has
Okay.
a second request in the alternative.
Next is the next worst case scenario for him is you call the bond.
Give it to him, call the bond.
Okay. The derivatives of that are you give him some sort of grace period to provide cash until June 1st. If he provides that, then you extend till such and such a date. So he can provide cash, he can get another surety, he needs to probably do that by the end of the week, whatever would make Grant happy in terms of his process and calling the bonds. So you wanted the middle ground is you give the developer some sort of wiggle room to provide you cash or another surety to buy a 24-month extension.
Okay. I've started this fiasco. I apologize. But all I was trying to do is come off of his comment. He said it would benefit us from a credit standpoint if we could give you the cash and not call the bond. That's all I heard. I was trying to accommodate
And
that. I was not going beyond that.
To give the cash, basically. I mean, I
But
don't need
know.
2 years. I don't want you to have no teeth.
How long is it going to take to call the bond, Grant?
Well, I think that it's kind of hard to say. We have a paper deadline that could be argued June 1st or June 12th or June 14th, so we don't like to argue deadlines, right? So there may be a little bit of leeway in there. Another option would be, I guess, basically you could perhaps agree to extend the bond or extend the agreement for some period of time and be agreeable, basically to accepting either a new surety, an extension of the current bond, or replacement of the bond security with cash security. And just kind of leave that to the developer. Right now, as it stands, it's sort of moving down. They get the money from the surety on the bond claim pathway. But if we got that money back and the developer came with cash and said, here, I'm going to give you the $225,000 cash if you'll send the bond company their money back, and we can make nice, and maybe that's that's something that's possible. I don't know.
All right, so how much wiggle room do you need? When you spoke, you were very concerned about the June 1st.
I am concerned
Because you
about
don't
the
wanna
June.
argue the
Yeah, so I mean, I think that basically we have to continue down the pathway we're down of calling the bond, or he provides cash or a new surety in 3 days, which may not happen. But you could perhaps.
And that's all I'm asking for. I do not want to create risk to the city.
Yeah, and so.
And trust me neither. I don't want the city to take unnecessary risk.
So then your motion would be to instruct Grant to call the bond and give the developers X months extension to complete the project pursuant to the developer's agreement. And if he provides a new surety or cash before he calls the bond, now that's an open day. That could be 3 days. It could be a month. But then Dr. Hussein needs to get on the horn to his surety companies, and he's got some work to do pretty quick before. It's basically the developers need to go get us cash or a new surety for however long that you want it before Grant gets the bond called. That could be June 1st or June 30th.
And I'm okay with that. I don't know the timeline yet. I don't know what timing. I don't know what his projections are.
So what you would need to do.
June 1st would be very hard.
Look, my suggestion would be is if you want to give the developer some wiggle room, give them a 2-year extension, because we're talking 27 buildings. It's still not going to happen, but go ahead and do a 24-month extension, order Grant to get the bond called, and if the developers intercede with the required cash or the same amount in a surety, then we'll extend for 24 months.
With one more condition. I want the grounds better maintained. They're mowed right now. They look good right now, but they can look bad.
With all due respect, don't put a condition on there. That just confuses the matter. That's a code issue.
Okay.
I was going to say the code enforcement covers.
Okay, we can get on the side. Okay, he heard me.
That could be enforceable.
He heard me too on Friday. So
I'm good with calling the bond by June 1st and give me a 2-year extension.
So 3 days you're good with? Okay. So actually what we have, though, we need a motion to meet that criteria, I would think.
I think that Mr. Minner gave a pretty good summary of what it sounds like the commission's interest was, at least in terms of making a motion. So I would suggest basically tracking, if somebody was in favor of that general concept, that tracking the motion that was suggested by Mr. Minner would be.
Actually, if you approve the resolution that's in the packet and add a second clause that says that the developer by June 1 will provide a new surety or cash in the amount of $221,000.
Well, there's another meter, though, he said. So 2 meters. Oh, that's okay.
Hey, read that, Grant. Read that the City Commission will extend the connection deadline to June 1, 2026, provided that the developers post a renewed surety bond acceptable to the city or cash in the amount by June 14.
Yes, sir. June 14th?
Does that work? June 1st. Can you still call?
14th?
Change the date to June 1st?
I mean, if you change June 14th, it would be easier, definitely. I'll try to do it before, but I'm just saying 3 days sometimes.
All we need to do is change that date to June 1st. That's what the commission decided. And then you approve the resolution as written.
Yeah, I think so.
June 1st is the date.
So
I think June 1st.
Yeah. So you want to make them. So make an amendment to amend the resolution to June 1st, 2024. So that needs to be amended.
Could we get somebody to make a motion to amend it to June the 1st?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell? Mayor Burry?
Yes. Okay.
So now you have the motion on the floor, which is the resolution, and the resolution continues to instruct to call the bond, but if the developers provide us $221,884,000 in cash or a new surety by June 1st, that will stop Grant. If we don't receive that grant, we'll still move forward and call the bond.
So moved.
Do we need date certain? 24 months?
It's in there.
Okay, so you got the 24 months in there. Okay. So moved?
Yes.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so informational reports. Do you have anything provided to us? No questions from the commission? City attorney items.
No, sir, not this evening. Thank you.
City manager items?
I don't have any items. However, in reflection on this evening's discussion during the CRA meetings and our quickness to go through the consent agenda, item 5C1, hold on, 5C1 on the consent agenda approved granting 3 lots to West Leesburg CDC, Home and Partners, and the CWC. My inclination is that was not your intention.
No, that wasn't.
So therefore, you may want to repeal that, call that resolution.
Are those
before the
different
meeting.
lots or are they the same?
They're different lots,
So
ones that the city owns.
So why are we torpedoing that?
I would like to.
You had an hour-long discussion in your CRA capacity not to do lot donations.
Which I voted against.
Then we speeded through, so you would be a no vote. So Commissioner Berry may want to make a motion to rescind the approval of item 5C1.
I didn't realize 5C1 went through. I'd like to make a
that's why
motion
I'm
to
bringing it up.
repeal. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to repeal item 5, approval of 5C-1 till
No, in denial.
But it'll come up in discussion with our next.
It will.
Yes, and to be discussed further in our next meeting.
A second.
Okay, so we have a second on that. Any discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
No.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Okay.
So those lots are not donated?
They're not donated.
They go back in the hopper.
We will get everybody happy.
Thank you.
And move forward with harmony. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we? City manager items, you did do that. You got anything else for us?
No, sir.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes, I have one item. I'm sorry. I think he had a question. So, okay. I have one item that I'd like to bring up from our last meeting and when we voted on having a staff meeting to discuss further with agenda to be determined. It was brought to my attention that maybe we should have a facilitator and then maybe not. So I just want to put it out there that our meeting will be scheduled sometime in June to have our discussion. And if I could provide further details of the agenda and everything, further details by the end of the week. But I just wanted to put it out there to get your understanding of where you all stand.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking on this.
So I'm bringing up the meeting from last meeting the meeting that we have scheduled. There hasn't been a date yet determined.
Right.
It was suggested that we have a facilitator, but that hasn't been determined. But I just want to put it out there for the commission to think about the meeting that we're scheduling to have, that if I could provide you further details by a date that we come up with that a consensus based on the email that we received earlier.
Commissioner Berry is referring to the special workshop on commission manager relationships that we determined when it was considered whether I should be terminated.
Which I voted against at that time.
The vote was 3-2 to have a workshop.
Right.
In a private conversation with Commissioner Berry, I encouraged her to come back to the body not to have the meeting because I don't think that it was going to serve a specific purpose. that we didn't have an identified agenda, and that if we were going to go down this road to discuss commission manager relations, A, you can do that during my evaluation, or B, maybe we should have a facilitator to lead us through such a discussion. Otherwise, I was concerned it was unfruitful. I did take the liberty to contact a facilitator. They wanted $7,500. Commissioner Berry thought that that was too expensive. I will concur that if you do a workshop, you should not have a facilitator. We have tried to contact the commissioners to schedule this meeting as part of an extension or a before regular meeting. Commissioner Berry has sent an email requesting that that not occur, that more time than a half an hour be presented. I suggest to the commission that we move forward as directed with a 3-2 vote, that we have a workshop. I don't think it appropriate for Commissioner Berry to make the agenda. I think it should be open. If any of you have input, please send it to me individually, and I will collectively put together an agenda. I think Pam should continue to schedule this, and we will try to find a mutually agreeable time for everybody. Is that satisfactory to the commissioner?
No, because the vote that took place was a 3-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And the vote was to have a meeting with discussion of the agenda, which I was asked at that time to create. So my understanding was it was on me to create an agenda.
I don't think that's the case. Do you
I thought it
recall,
was-
Andy?
And based on our
I don't believe that that's
and
the case.
based on our conversation,
So let's look at the minutes.
Hold on. Based on our conversation, City Manager, I thought you said you asked me for my agenda, and that's what I've been working on to prepare. I don't think it's right for you to have to come up with agenda matter, but I would be open for other commissioners to have discussions to put their input in. I just want to be fair across the board. Then that way we can have a conversation and a meeting which we could discuss respectfully with one another to whatever discussions there will be. And if a facilitator is involved, then they would handle everything, and it wouldn't have to come through any of us.
I think one of the difficult issues with the agenda, or one reason maybe Al was suggesting that he handle the agenda, is we want to be careful about where we're not, I guess, having conversations about trying to develop an agenda outside of where we are right now.
Oh, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, so I think maybe if you use Mr. Minner kind of as the central point there to kind of round up whatever feedback comes in and develop an agenda, that might be better, just to try to avoid some of the collaboration issues that might unintentionally come up.
I don't think we should have any collaboration issues. And if I'm not mistaken, the request was I requested the meeting, so I thought I was given the opportunity to create an agenda for the meeting.
I'm reading that. I'm trying to read the minutes right now.
Because it was asked during the meeting that time, what is the agenda? And the topic at the time was relationships. And if I'm clear, I stated this would be one of the agenda items that I'm discussing, that we would like to be discussed. I'm not trying to create, for the record, please understand, the intent is not to create any kind of animosity or discord, which I said before. My goal is to be able to discuss, to come to an agreement so that we can respectfully agree not to agree and be able to work accordingly. A facilitator was suggested. I didn't think the expense was needed, but if that's the case, I think that's fair all across. That would be completely fair across the board. Someone that doesn't know, just come in and facilitate the items, the issues, based on the agenda. Now, are we opening up the floor to create an agenda for everyone?
However, they need to state that the agenda item will be, Commissioner Berry said set the
When is the proposed meeting?
We haven't set it up yet.
The date
We're still
hasn't been-
pulling everybody to get dates.
Let's say, 'cause I haven't been consulted, so I don't know.
I saw the email this afternoon. It just came out this afternoon. There was like 8 or 10 dates.
So,
So the minutes don't specifically say who's calling the agenda. So with all due respect, Commissioner, the motion that was approved by the body was to have a workshop with regard to commission manager relationships. That will be what the agenda is, a discussion item on that amongst us. I don't think at this time we should have a facilitator. It was directed 3-2 by the commission to have such meeting, and that's how it will be agendized. Pam will get with everybody to schedule it based on your availability, and we'll try to get it set up ASAP.
Okay, again.
My conversation with the Commissioner Berry was to bring some order to what I was concerned was going to be a disorganized meeting that wasn't going to be fruitful. I regret that conversation. I should have left it be and gone with the direction of the 3-2 vote, and we'll get it scheduled. If anybody has an agenda concept, please contact me. I will collectively put that together. I will share the emails, but I don't think Commissioner Berry, barring the direction, which is not in the minutes, should establish the meeting agenda.
Okay. Well, I can recall that the meeting, you asked for my agenda right then and there.
That
And I
was
said I could
in
get it.
our discussion, but that was not.
No, at the meeting on the.
Understood.
At the commission's meeting, you asked for my agenda.
Understood.
Right there. And
Understood.
I said I could prepare it for you, but I didn't have one then. And then we continued the discussion, and the subject matter came up, and I said, this would be the agenda item here, and it was based on relationships.
I just think, we had three commissioners that voted to do this, 2 that didn't vote. So everybody that voted for it needs to bring their agenda.
Oh, that's
why
fine.
they voted for it, I hope.
That's fine. I'm open to whatever, but I just know what was stated, and that's what I was going
I'll
through.
bring my
And
agenda,
our vote was for a staff meeting based on the city's oh my gosh, I can't even think, to our policies and procedures. And then when talking with Al, the city manager, excuse me, I said a workshop, because I do want to be able for us to bring something in a positive direction from our meeting. Granted, not a kumbaya moment, but something that could move us forward so that we can continue to move and continue the business of the city.
Okay, so, I just read through all the minutes of what was saying, and it really doesn't say that we're going to just follow your agenda or anybody's.
I'm perfectly okay with that, but that was.
But I would certainly, we're going to have the meeting because we voted 3-2.
Yes.
And at the meeting, I would say you should come with your agenda. Jay should come with his. Alan should come with his. Those were all people that were for that meeting. And let's hear what it's about.
And then how would you suggest that we facilitate this meeting when we're bringing various agendas from different each person, each commissioner?
Well, there's 5 of us. I said
so how would we move the meeting? Would you as mayor conduct the meeting as moving forward? Would that be fair for you?
I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Because we're just going to vote. It's not. We're going to make a motion. We'll get a second. If there's some policy we want to introduce or some behavior that we want to address or whatever it is that is on your agenda and on each person's agenda.
So I would bring an agenda. Each commissioner would bring an agenda. I just want to be clear of where we're going because we're changing. It's turning the direction as far as I just want to know what is expected from each commissioner, the 3 that voted.
Well, you would have.
You all voted.
We all voted. 2 of us voted not to have the meeting.
Excuse me. So the 2 that didn't vote, so you would not bring an agenda, or you would bring agenda item? That's what I'm trying to get clear. Will every commissioner bring agenda?
I won't say what I'm about.
I think every commissioner needs to bring their comments on how they perceive commission manager relations, and we move from there. We'll have Grant at the meeting, and the mayor will act as the mayor always does.
Yeah,
please respond to Pam's email, and we will get the meeting set up ASAP.
Okay. All right.
That was
Anything
under
else?
Commissioner Berry's comment.
That was under my comment. I'm just shifting gears to transition of where we are, and I'm open with that. Unfortunately, well, we don't have all parties to weigh in with Commissioner Reisman out, but I'm open to yes.
Well, there's an email to you that
Yes, true.
choose
Yes,
the
I'm
dates.
good with that.
So we'll work all that out. We're moving forward with it. Everybody should bring their agenda for what they just. We voted to have the meeting, so
Okay.
bring what you
Then
got.
my next question, please, while it's up on decks, are we going to have the meeting the day of a commissioner meeting, or are we going to do a separate date? Because I don't think time will allow 30 minutes for us to be productive. I'm thinking that's my thoughts.
I'm thinking a separate date myself.
I didn't hear that.
Separate date. So
So Pam will be contacting you.
Yeah, put the dates.
Please give Pam some dates of availability. We'll string them all together.
Yep.
That didn't answer the question of the same date of a commissioner meeting or a separate date.
The response that the commissioners provide Pam will determine the date. You're obviously a commissioner that wants it on a separate date. Commissioner Cannell is a commissioner on a separate date. There's 3 other schedules that we have to.
But the email from Pam didn't state
There
the
should
separate
be.
date.
I talked to Pam
Oh, she
today.
sent another one out?
So she should be
Okay.
sending one out.
Okay. I'm basing
Please
it on
give
the one I
Pam your
received.
dates and specify whether you want it on the same day or a different day, and we will accommodate everybody's schedules.
Okay.
Do the best we can.
We have to work collectively.
Great. Sounds good. I'm for all of that. I just felt that the agenda was placed on me in that meeting, so I just took the lead to move forward, to go forward based on the conversation that we had in there. But if we're all bringing
Ours was a separate conversation, and the minutes let you off the hook.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, you're right. Correct, excuse me. But going forward, I am willing to do and work with each person and welcome the idea for everyone to bring their own list of items to discuss, and I think that would be perfectly fair.
Okay.
Done.
Commissioner Connell?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing. I'm going to bite my lip.
Mayor Burry?
Well, I see we have progress moving on Lee Street. The project, but we still have the south building. Did they stop tearing that down, or
No, they're
still moving?
in progress. I would not walk out onto that site. So,
Okay. Yeah, and that's Dan. Just to
Mr. Mayor, my understanding is that they're going to continue with the demolition. The north building is down. South building is scheduled for either this week or next. I believe they're going to continue on.
I know the Historic
ASAP.
Society is also collecting bricks for those folks who wanted bricks from
There's
Lee
a
School.
trailer out on 6th Street. I think it's okay to grab if you want
Yes.
for your own. John O'Kelly brought me 2. I think he brought Andy some for the vault.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
So there was a lot of people in the public that wanted that, so just
Yes, sir.
trying to get that information out there. And that's all I've got tonight. Could we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.